Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Three in the Keystone, episode 56. A little late start tonight due to some technical difficulties on our end again.
Why are you letting them behind the curtain? They don't know that.
The listeners don't know that.
Dude,
Yeah,
what's in
but
a live show?
when we're in segment three and the eyes are falling asleep, we got heavy eyes. I need to know why. It was a late start tonight.
Oh man,
We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
yeah.
Al Ryan, Chris Guest, episode 56. There's only 156, boys, and even if it's a rival football team, it's the LT episode, the Lawrence Taylor.
Joe Blanton.
Oh, have you been? I didn't even think to look. I got no one.
56 is LT. It just is what it is. Happy birthday shout out to my boy Al, 38 today.
Yeah, old
Big
man.
38. But do you guys know about that thing about all the people born in South Korea that they all went and they relived a year of their lives? Did you know about this?
I
No,
think you told me about this.
I was born in South Korea, right? But obviously I didn't stay there. But for the people that live there, the citizens there, they're the only country in the world that when you're born, you start off at 1 year old. So you don't celebrate a first birthday. Birth is your first birthday. And they just this year went ahead and signed like a law to rectify that. And in order to rectify it, everyone that lives there had to now go ahead and relive another year of their life. So me being 38 today, if I live in South Korea, I'd be 37 again.
that sounds like a screenplay.
Yeah. What was it, 17 again with Jennifer Garner?
So where do you go?
Yeah, something. I think that was it. Yeah.
And
That's
I know,
interesting.
Seltzer, you're the Iron Man of this podcast. You've never missed an episode, but I don't want my dedication to ever be caught into question here now after this.
No, yeah, you're better than me because I was damn sure wasn't working on my birthday.
Yeah, guesses in
You know how we
It's probably the highlight of your day. I wouldn't say this is work.
highlight of my day. I had an Oreo ice cream cake not too long ago, about a couple hours ago. Nice big fat donut.
You don't pay for that.
I might be asleep by the third segment.
If we ever do a cake draft, ice cream cake goes number one overall.
Cheesecake.
Nah, you never
Cheesecake.
want to eat cheesecake every day. You'd eat ice cream cake every day.
No.
Now, if you can't have dairy, you wouldn't eat ice cream cake every day.
Well, maybe we'll find
Yeah.
out.
The vegan cake.
Also want to give a shout out to June McDade, who just popped up on my TV screen. Rest in peace. I don't know if you're watching the Phillies game, but I'm not sure who that is. But
I was going to say, I don't even.
Screen.
And the dude from the show with Zendaya died. The kid.
Really?
You watch that show, Guest?
What, Euphoria?
Yeah.
No, I don't really. I haven't watched it. But I've heard good things, but I haven't seen it.
Angus Cloud, R.I.P.
Oh, I saw that name that he died. I didn't know who that was.
Yeah. Casey
Also,
Cr-
Pee-wee Herman we lost today.
yeah.
Yeah,
Part of my
big day.
childhood gone.
A
We
day
got a
of-
lot on- we got a lot on tap for tonight. I know you boys wanted to chime in with the Kelly Green rollout on the Eagles uniform. What'd you guys think?
So I was actually boots on the ground today. I actually went to Lancaster, and it's like an hour drive from here. And I called myself maybe getting a little bit away from the brouhaha, so to speak, of the South Philly location, and figuring Cherry Hill be the same. Lancaster, I have a video of it. I'll probably tweet it out. It was legit 400, at least 400 people in line. When I got there, their shop opens at 11. I don't know if they open officially at 9 in the Lancaster one or not. I got there at like 9:50, and it was like literally around their shopping complex. To which I said, keep that. I went to Waffle House and came home.
I'm going to ask if you got that hat from there. So you're rocking the.
No, I've been had this one. But what I did do is I ordered online. I ordered a Jalen Hurts Super Bowl 57 regular midnight green jersey with the patch. But also I ordered a Derrick Henry Houston Oilers throwback. I was in a throwback mood I was going to get somebody's throwback today.
Yeah, you went way off the path there. You got all messed up when you saw that line.
Yeah. I was just like, I'm going to. First of all, I was more shocked at the Waffle House than I was at the line. I didn't know we had Waffle Houses in PA. And I saw 3 different sets of Amish people riding around on push scooters. So apparently that's a thing.
It's a busy day for you too. You and Al, big days.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, my question though is this bias, or are the Kelly Greens legitimately? I mean, I think they might be the GOAT of all sports uniforms, but they're legitimately like top 5, right? I mean, of all time.
I think the helmet makes the uniform. The helmets are so sharp. I love the helmet.
I mean, yeah, it's the total package. But I just think that's, I mean, I know the anticipation's been so high for so long because Lurie didn't want to release them or whatever. And I know that Philly fans are psychos, which makes it, you know what I mean, that much bigger. You got people tailgating the release of a friggin' jersey. But I legitimately think that they're some of the nicest uniforms in sports.
Well, I saw a clip of the radio a radio team in DC that was talking about it actually, and they're like, those jerseys, even though we're rivals, those are awesome jerseys.
Yeah.
So
it's a nice color and it's simple. It's a simple, clean look. It's not too flashy. There's not a bunch of crap all over the jersey. You just have the number, the logo. That's it. Like it's nice.
Yeah.
To me, and this is again the token answer, the Chargers baby blues are still probably the best. I love
They're
the Charger baby blues.
Well, no, because they wear them all the time, though.
I'm just saying I like them. They're my favorite uniform. I don't care how often they wear them.
Well, I think,
So a couple that I was thinking of that I really like. Remember when the Pistons teal with the horse came out in '96?
Solid.
The with the chess piece.
Yeah,
The Grand Hill Pistons.
Grand Hill Pistons. Yeah,
that's a nice one. They're gonna wear those a little bit. They're all first of all, the NBA, they all have like 18 different jerseys they can wear.
The NBA has the nicest uniforms of any league.
Yeah, because it used to be like you're roading away. Now it's like you got your alternate, your City Connect, the playoff teams qualify every year for a new jersey during the year. Then you got your throwbacks. There's all kind of options they have in the NBA now.
The Sixers Spectrum uniform or jerseys from 2 years ago hit the spot. They
were fantastic. Fantastic. Oh. Thankfully, because they had missed the mark with a lot of those alternates for a while.
Yeah, the one with the Boathouse Row.
That
was not.
They were crap. Last year, the City of Brotherly Love, that was crap.
Yeah, I didn't like that either.
I'm looking forward to see what
the Spectrum one was good.
That's what I just said. We said the Spectrum one was real good.
They're elite. They were an elite.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Boathouse Row one.
No, the Boathouse Row ones were corny.
Oh, the Spectrum one was
the Spectrum ones were real nice.
Yeah,
I'm anxious to see. I'm looking forward to see what Nike does when Philly finally gets a throwback for baseball, not a throwback, an alternate for baseball.
The City Connects.
Yeah.
Well, remember they came out with they had like those tan ones, the beige Sunday ones.
Yeah,
but that doesn't count. That was
horrible. I didn't like those at all.
That was when the league was just doing weird color alternates. I feel like that wasn't.
Yeah, but they were at one point. They were the Sunday apparel. I didn't like.
Yeah, but I'm talking about a totally different logo and everything.
Yeah,
like, we'll see.
Yeah, the ones you're talking about. You're talking about the ones that are the day game ones. You're talking about.
Yeah, they still wear those. I don't even know if
they don't wear those anymore.
The cream ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wear
those anymore.
They wear the cream ones on day games.
No, they wear the red now.
No, on Sundays they wear the red, but on day games, Sand Sundays, they wear the cream ones. And then Thursdays they wear the throwback ones.
Maybe. Listen, I'm so like
they definitely still wear the cream.
I zone out. I don't even pay attention to the uniforms. They got gray on the night if you're watching.
Well, because they're on the road.
Let's get into the first segment. So last week we did a trade deadline preview. There's been some trades in the MLB. The Phillies have not pulled the trigger on any moves. So without that to dissect, we swerved a little bit, and we wanted to talk about the best trades in Philadelphia sports history. So each of us took a team, and we each listed our top 3. So I took the Phillies, Al took the Sixers, and Chris took the Eagles. If you guys don't mind, I'd like to at least start with this one. Will you guys mind starting with Phillies?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So what I did was I listed 3, and I tried to keep it a little bit more recent. There's obviously the trade to acquire Steve Carlton. There's even the trade to acquire Kurt Schilling, which are probably the 2 best trades in Philadelphia Phillies history. However, I wanted to keep it a little more towards our lifetime. So for me, there was 4 trades that I could really choose. So I had to cut one loose. But what we'll do is I'll give you my number 3 and my number 2, and we could chime in if a little bit and pieces here if you have some things, and then we'll really don't jump into number 1 when we get there. All right.
Yep.
So for me, my number 3 trade is actually a guy who I'm not a huge fan of personally. I think he was I don't want to say a little overrated as a player, but I thought that statistically he was probably better than what he actually gave the team, but still a tremendous trade for the Phillies. And it was in 1997, the Phillies traded Kevin Stocker to the Tampa Bay Rays for that Bobby Abreu. Abreu gets drafted in the expansion draft in 97, then comes immediately over to the Phillies for Stocker. He's 23 years old at the time and only logged 74 at-bats in the major league level. Comes to the Phillies. He's a two-time All-Star, a Gold Glove winner, a Silver Slugger. And how about this? Over his 8 years, I didn't count his 9th year because they got traded at the trade deadline. For 8 full years, he averaged 156 games, a 302 average, 416 on base, 509 slugging, 103 runs scored, 40 doubles, 23 homers, 29 steals, 93 RBIs, 107 walks. That's average per season. That's not even like
He had a great career.
his best numbers.
Yeah.
Kevin Stocker ends up only playing 300 more games in his major league career, hitting 237 with 11 home runs.
But he is on with Scott Fransky on the radio broadcast.
That is true. And we haven't seen Bobby. Bobby ended up even bouncing around with Yankees, Angels, a few other teams since then. And listen, he was an extremely solid player, had a hose in right field. And to get him for Kevin Stocker was one of the best trades that the Phillies ever made.
I mean, Abreu was I mean, he was a 5-tool play. I mean, he could do it all. I mean, but he's another one. Like, if you watched him play, I remember different times when he played where I was not a fan of his, whether it was from the lack of hustle at times or, whatever the case may be. But if you look at his numbers after the fact, he had a great career.
I think we're talking about what we see this year from this team. It just seems like he lacked a clutch team. Like he never came through in the big
Maybe that's
spots.
what it was. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's also, you talk about a guy who had nothing really ever put around him as far as a team goes. I mean, when I think about Bobby Abreu, I always think of a guy who was a great player, but never had much help.
Yeah, early on, but eventually, like those 03 and 04 teams, they had Tomey at that point. They had Burrell at that point. Utley and Howard they were young, but they had come up on those teams. Rollins was there. Again, they were all younger. They hadn't hit their prime, but the team really seemed to take off when they traded Abreu.
Yeah, but do you think I think that's more coincidence than his fault. Like, I don't think it's like trading him was the key to becoming a successful team.
Right. No, I agree with that.
I agree, but there's also the rumblings inside that trading him kind of gave that locker room to the younger guys.
Yeah,
he was the last line of defense of the veterans per se.
Him and Tomey.
Right. Yes.
Tomey. No, and I think what's a sin too is that Abreu is always just going to be remembered for hitting 5,000 home runs in the home run derby and then never hitting a home run again in a Phillies jersey.
That's so true.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
We got a lot to go through, so let's jump into number 2. To me, the number 2 versus number 1 was really, really hard. And I think that most people would have them flip-flopped. But in December of 2009, the Phillies acquired Roy Halladay from the Toronto Blue Jays for Kyle Drabek, who was the prize piece of that deal, never amounted to anything.
Right.
Travis d'Arnaud, who turned himself into a nice player, still playing catcher for the Atlanta Braves, and Michael Taylor, who was another outfield prospect who really never amounted to nothing. Halladay comes here the year after the Phillies win the World. No, this was after they lost the World Series to the Yankees. Wins a Cy Young his first year here. He goes 21-10 with a 2.44 ERA. You ready for this? 250 innings pitched, 9 complete games, 4 shutouts. He throws a perfect game, and in his first playoff start, throws a no-hitter. Just an unbelievable year. Follows that up by going 19-6 with a 2.35 ERA, 233 innings, 8 complete games. He finishes second in the Cy Young that year. Any guesses on who beat him out for the Cy Young that year?
What year was it?
Was it
09? Or I'm sorry, 09. He won the Cy Young in 10. This is 11.
Verlander. No, that's AL.
Right?
Carpenter? Who?
DeGrom.
No. Oh, a young who?
Carpenter?
No. How about a young Clayton Kershaw?
Oh, okay.
And then after that, it seemed like Roy's arm died with Ryan Howard's Achilles after that playoff run.
Wait,
so
real quick,
really only a 2-year run of success for Doc.
Seltzer, that year, didn't we have wasn't Halladay, Lee and Hamels all in the top 5 for Cy Young voting that year, or like top 10.
So the first year Halladay was here was with no Cliff Lee.
No. The year he came in second, the year you just talked about.
That's possible.
Like we had they were all horses that year. They
Yeah,
were
well,
all
it was the
so
Four
close.
Aces marketing campaign.
Yeah, Oswald. Yeah. But
Oswald was not as good as those other 3 that year, but he still was good comparatively speaking to everybody else in the league. But
So
it made
Cliff
him
Lee-
feel like it
Cliff
was
Lee
like
was
kind of like
third.
yeah.
And Cole
Oswald-
Hamels was 5th. Yeah, so they were all top 5.
Yeah, Oswald was a fantastic 4 to have. I mean,
yeah.
that's a crazy. But the one, I mean, I just used the word, but the one word that just always comes to my head when I think of Roy Halladay is horse. He was a horse. He's probably the last horse that we'll ever see.
I mean,
250 innings, man.
yeah.
It's wild.
They try to have Alcantara as a horse right now. I know I think he's got like 7 complete games, something like that, but like he's not nearly the pitcher that, and he's having a down year this year.
He stinks this year. He's got like a 5 ERA.
Yeah, he's having a down year, but I mean, for the most part, you're not going to see that kind of stuff again.
Well, the Marlins ace this year is that Jazz Chisholm, isn't it? Isn't he their ace?
Get this guy out of
Hey,
here.
Jazz Chisholm.
Get this guy
Who's more of a hot dog, Chisholm or Fernando Tatis Jr.?
Piece of something else, ain't he?
No, dude, Ellie De La Cruz, my man.
He's
a
up
hot
there
dog.
now too. Yeah, a lot of that Latin flair.
Dude. How about the dude who hit the walk-off? The dude hit the walk-off yesterday against the Phillies. He was dancing around the bases like a wild man, dude.
El Palacio, that was his birthday.
Yeah.
He's locked in.
All right. So let me get to my number 1 and we'll dissect it a little bit more in depth. I'm gonna run some names for you boys. Mitch Williams, Mark Leiter, Ricky Batalico, Heathcliff Slocum, Jose Mesa, Tom Gordon, Jeff Brantley, Doug Jones. A plethora of crap that the
Who's who?
Phillies had run out there in closer since 1993 through 2007. And there's a little Billy Wagner stop in there in 04, 05 where he was really good before he left in free agency to join the Mets. But the Phillies get a little taste of the playoffs in 07. And that's with Brett Myers making the transition to closer for that team. Obviously, they want to put him back in the rotation, and they need that final piece to get them across the finish line in 2008. And they make the trade in the offseason, and they acquire Brad Lidge alongside Eric Bruntlett for Michael Bourne, Jeff Geary, and who's the third person in the trade?
No idea.
Brandon Duckworth.
How about Carroll's own Mike Costanza?
Oh,
yeah, no, I would have never got that.
Uh,
He's actually I don't want to get out of his business. I'll tell you off here.
But to segue, I do have here in my notes. We'll get back to the Lidge trade in a second, Al. When the Phillies acquired Billy Wagner, it was for Brandon Duckworth, Ezekiel Estacio, and Taylor Buckholz. Another great trade.
there.
Yeah, you were there.
Who'd we trade David Coggin for?
Coggin toboggan. But look, it was hard to pick Lidge over Halladay because Halladay may have had the better impact. But to me, Lidge put them over the hump to win a World Series. And at the end of the day, that holds a lot more weight to me. And just to run through his numbers again, just to remind you of how great he actually was. 1.95 ERA, 41 for 41 in saves, 92 strikeouts in 69 innings. He was 4th in Cy Young and 8th in MVP as a closer. And then in the playoffs, he goes 1 run in 9 1/3 innings, 13 Ks, 7 saves. Very good in the playoffs. He ended up sucking in 2009. He was terrible, but sneaky bounce back year in 2010 with a 2.96 ERA, 27 saves, and 52 Ks. Decent in 2011, but got hurt. At the end of the day, he was the reason they won that World Series, among other things. But he was the end of the game lockdown. Again, perfect in saves for the total season, 48 for 48. It's insane.
Those 09 guys, they had a couple hangovers. I mean, Hamels had a hangover year that year. The bats a little bit were not as from a power perspective, if I remember correctly, weren't as big as 08 for some of those guys. But also, let's not discount that trade as a whole. Getting Eric Bruntlett. Eric Bruntlett was a nice defensive player.
Oh,
he did have a home run in the World Series.
Yeah, he did. And he scored the game-winning run on that shoots dribbler.
Yes, he did.
Exactly. So he
Yep.
played a big part in that title too. Now
He
let's.
sucked
I'm
at
not a
best. Come
Bruntlett
on,
guy.
man.
No, I'm not saying he didn't suck. I get it, but I'm saying he had some moments that were important still for that season.
Don't take the shine away from Lidge here.
No. I'm just saying that Bruntlett needs to have a little bit of flowers too. He was in the deal.
So
All
would
right,
you guys
so give-
agree with that, to have the Lidge trade over the Holiday trade?
I think we oftentimes on this pod we kind of are disappointed that we don't disagree more, but I can't disagree with that. He literally is the piece that was missing for the World Series ring. So how can you disagree with bringing in the guy that gets you the World Series ring? You can't. In that postseason in 2008, 9.1 innings pitched, only one earned run, and it was in his very first appearance in NLDS Game 1 against Milwaukee, and it was a meaningless run.
Yep.
So I mean, you talk about dominance throughout the regular season, and then in crunch time when it matters the most. I mean, that's it right there. He'd only played in one other World Series prior to that with Houston. So it's not like he was used to the bright lights, and especially not used to the bright lights in the situation that he was being with Philly in the World Series.
And he had demons, remember, coming over here. He had the Pujols demons that were,
Right.
lodged in his memory at that point of him giving up that long home run at Minute Maid Park. Eric Bruntlett, 217 average in 2008 and 171 in 2009.
I never said he was good. I'm just saying he had moments in that season. Of course, the main piece is Lidge. I'm not an idiot. I get that.
All right, so we're all on the same pages with Lidge. The only other trade I mentioned there was 4, the Cliff Lee trade to acquire him originally, with really Lou Marson and Carrasco, among other prospects that didn't end up panning out. But my 3, again, Abreu for Stocker, Halladay trade for Drabek, D'Arnaud, and Taylor, and then Brad Lidge and Bruntlett for Michael Bourne, Jeff Geary, and Carroll's own Mike Costanza. Those are the
I can't
top trades in Phillies history, in my opinion.
I can't argue with that. I liked Geary though. I like because in MVP baseball, he was a solid arm out of the pen in my franchise mode that I played.
Yeah, Geary was what he was. He was a middle reliever, very Chad Durbin type guy.
Loved all those guys. JD Durbin.
Couple guys in that. I mean, Romero getting him was a big deal for the trade. Oh my gosh, what's the other guy that they got?
Jamie Moyer, Matt Stairs.
Stairs. Yeah, I mean, those guys all ended up playing a big part in that team, and they were all traded for.
Chris
None
Coast
of them with the impact that Brad Lidge made.
Greg Dobbs,
Dobbsy,
Jeff Jenkins.
All right, who wants to go next?
I'll go. I got the Sixers. So this was hard, I thought, for me for the Sixers. There was a bunch of trades that were kind of like all in the same area of like, yeah, they're decent trades, they're good trades. So for my top 3, I ended up narrowing it down to the following. You guys might give me some pushback on 3, but at number 3, I have the most recent blockbuster deal that the Sixers made, which is acquiring James Harden and Paul Millsap for Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 first-round picks. And the reason I have this at number 3 is because I think that even though right now some Sixers fans feel like we're a little bit hamstrung right now with James Harden, and some people want to get rid of him, and we can't win with him, and we don't want to extend him, and this and that and the other. Could you imagine a world in which right now we have Ben Simmons on this roster? You're talking now. You're not even talking about could we move him? Could we trade him? You're talking about the worst contract in basketball, and there's no way you're going to be able to get rid of him until he has 1 year left in that deal, which isn't for another 3 years, I think.
He might be the worst. He might be the worst contract in the history of basketball in
the history of sports. I'm willing to say. I mean, you're talking about a guy who just doesn't play. So I have that at number 3 just for the simple fact of I think the door is slammed shut on the Sixers if we aren't able to move him. Whereas we still have just at least that glimmer of the door being creaked open without having him on the books.
It depends on how we're evaluating the trade. Again, in the moment when it happened, one of the greatest trades in Sixers history, but I'm not sure that the results that come of it are going to necessitate it being in that top 3, but I'm curious to see what the other 2 are, and then we can have a discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I agree 100% with you, Al. I think that trade, you net a NBA top 75 all-time player from trading Ben Simmons, who in hindsight was a huge lopsided trade. in the favor of the Sixers.
But-
I thought even at the time it was, but it's clearly a lopsided trade now. Like anybody that thinks that the Brooklyn Nets won that trade still just doesn't know basketball, business, life. It's a no-brainer.
But like the counterpoint to that is, yeah, they acquired a top 75 player of all time, but he wasn't that player when they got him. That's like saying
It doesn't matter
that's like
though.
saying,
It was
no,
better.
it does matter. It's like saying when the Cavaliers acquired Shaq, they acquired a top 75 player of all time, but they didn't.
No, but they still got a guy that led the league in assists this year. They still got a
Oh,
guy.
yeah, he's been good, but we're not. I don't. Let's not say he's a top 75 player of all time. That's not. He's not that guy anymore.
Well, it's not about if he's that guy anymore or not. That's what he is. He's still on the book as that guy, and we got him for Ben Simmons.
And he guess what? He let us down in the biggest moments on the basketball floor.
And what did Ben do in a big moment?
I'm not saying. What I'm saying is we have to evaluate what they got in these trades as well, and they got value for Ben Simmons. It was a good trade, but I don't know if I'm putting it in the top 3 because James Harden has by all means let us down and is now asked out himself.
Yeah, but everybody says he let us down in the biggest spot, which I agree that he did, obviously, in that game 6 and 7, but he still won us 2 games in that series, too, which is more you can say for Joel Embiid, more you can say for Ben Simmons in their careers.
I was going to say, but it's more you can definitely say for Ben as far as the playoffs is concerned. I mean, the guy had a 1-point game in Boston in 2018 at one point. I mean, the guy we argue about Joel being a playoff or not a playoff guy. Ben definitely has never been a playoff guy. So then those two together would have been way worse than what we ended up getting. Now, did Harden show up in game 7? Obviously not. But you look at that trade again, like what did Brooklyn get out of that? They got a headache. They lost Seth Curry to free agency. I don't think Drummond's there anymore at this point. Is he on Chicago?
Yeah.
And then they had a pick which they used, and I forget who they picked this year with that pick, but and then like they didn't really get anything out of that either. They pretty much just lost James Harden for nothing.
To me, I would put it as more of a terrible trade for Brooklyn than a great trade for the Sixers.
That's fair. The reason it's on my list is because I didn't think there was any way in hell we were going to be able to get rid of him, and we did. That's part of why we were able to get rid of Al Horford and send him to Oklahoma City, and everybody in the city saw that trade and was like, "Holy shit! They actually got rid of him. They were actually able to move that contract."
But you remember there was a lot of people in the city that were haters that were like, "We're not going to get anything for Ben." And then we got James Harden, who is he's still better than what Ben would have got you. And he's better than a lot of guys that we could have possibly even gotten in that trade. Yeah. You could not have gotten anybody for Ben right now. Ben is untradeable at this moment unless you hitch to him a superstar player, which we would not be in a position to do. So that's why it's a great trade, because it was all about the foresight that you had to do it when you did it.
Yeah.
Instead of waiting around and letting this whole thing play out and rot and have him rot, because we would have rotted right along with him.
Well, the greatest thing that happened to him, and we've said this, is him not playing that season. If he would have stepped on the floor, his value would have plummeted, and we would not have gotten a player of James Harden's caliber.
And Maxey would have delayed his development because of not playing as much with Ben on the floor in front of him.
Yep.
And that brings me to my number 2 selection on this list. Now, before I give you number 2, I will say this. I also tried, along with Adam here, we hadn't spoke about this, but I tried to kind of steer away from some of the trades from decades and decades ago, the 60s, 70s, that we didn't watch at the time. So I tried to stay within the last, within recent history. So with my number 2 selection here, as far as the second best trade in Sixers history, in my opinion, I have sending Markelle Fultz to Orlando for Jonathan Simmons, a second-round pick, and a first-round pick, in which that first-round pick ends up being Tyrese Maxey. So basically, offloading a guy who was never going to reach his potential with us, never play for us, the same story as Ben, and getting a corner piece, a potential number 2 guy for the next, 4 years, 5 years, an absolute steal at 20th overall or whatever it was that we got him. Again, looking at this as almost like we're stealing money. We're getting something for absolutely nothing.
It's tough to gauge, I guess, these Sixers trades compared to when I was doing the Phillies, because they're more concrete players. The question becomes, again, that first round pick turns into Tyrese Maxey, which is great. But at the time, you didn't know that. So how do you evaluate that trade? And I remember at the time, it was more about, we had to get rid of Markelle because it was basically to a point where I think he was going to make 14 or 15 million the following season, and he wasn't on the basketball floor. And that team was trying to win a championship and he couldn't have a player making that type of money that wasn't going to play. So it ended up being kind of a salary dump. And then that pick, if you remember correctly, Mike Muscala makes a meaningless 3 in the bubble that
Meaningless to them.
Correct. That ends up granting the Sixers that pick. Otherwise, it would have been protected, and Oklahoma City keeps that pick. I think it was an Oklahoma City pick.
Yeah. I think that honestly, that's more of a testament to the Sixers draft at that point in time than the trade, because I agree with Seltzer. It's hard to really, you're not trading for Tyrese Maxey. You're trading for assets that ended up becoming Maxey. Like when I get to the Eagles, there's a couple trades that you could say the same thing. One, I'll just say it right now. I'll just go out there. Jason Kelce. Nobody knew that Jason Kelce would end up being what he ended up being when they got that trade done where they got an extra 6th-round pick. That was just a product of good scouting and a good way of pulling the trigger for that player. But it's still an awesome. I mean, hey, it worked out for us. So
right. And in retrospect, if you knew the answers, it's a great trade.
That was the only way I really had to evaluate, especially with the NBA, with it just being every trade in the NBA involves picks.
Right.
So I mean, my honorable mentions, like one of them also was like James Ennis for a 2nd-round pick that becomes Paul Reed. But like I get it, like
you went way deep into the
yeah, but like I get it, I did. Like I get it at the time. It's like that's a crap trade. Like that means nothing. So it's more about the pick and the player becoming something than it is for the trade. So if we're gonna say one more trade, I could have went with Jared Bayless, Rocco, and Saric for Jimmy Butler and Justin Patton.
I thought you were gonna have that on there, but I would have disagreed with you. Again, great trade, but what did Jimmy Butler bring us?
Well, but what does anybody bring any Philly team except for two? I mean, like we don't see a lot of championships. So like,
look at this exactly. Look at the Sixers. Look at the Sixers history.
Right.
That's the problem, because the one that I left off here is Dikembe, and the reason I left that off is because I don't necessarily think the Sixers couldn't have gotten that far with Theo Ratliff. I understand he ends up getting hurt and this and that, and we know history, it's revisionist history, but I don't think necessarily Dikembe Mutombo was like this massive piece that put us over the top. That was Iverson's team, and he was carrying that team out before he could.
I'm sitting on a trade. I want to hear your number one, but I'm sitting on a trade I think you forgot.
I think the Mutombo trade was bigger than you're saying.
Yeah,
that without Ratliff, and I was a huge Ratliff fan, and he was an all-star that year, but without him, we have no center. So we still were able to get a all-star center back to fill that spot and have us in a position to be able to have a defensive presence in the playoffs to get to the Lakers. You could argue, and people have argued for the last 22 years now, if we would have been able to win an extra game or two against the Lakers if we had Ratliff versus Mutombo. But at the end of the day, Mutombo was a great. I mean, the fact that he was not on the all 75 list all himself was, I think, a little bit of a travesty. He had a really good career, one of the best defensive players in the history of the NBA. And we got him still on the back leg of his prime. He wasn't fully cooked yet. And I think that was a really big trade, actually.
I would have had the Mutombo trade on there.
All right. Well, as I just had said that I try not to go too far back. I think for number one, I had to take this trade because it's the one that won the Sixers the title.
Van Horn?
Come on, dude. In 1983, prior to the 1983 season,
there you go.
Philadelphia 76ers trade Caldwell Jones and a 1st-round draft pick, which ends up being Rodney McRae, to the Houston Rockets for Mr. Fo himself, Moses Malone. Moses Malone averages nearly 25-10 and 3 whole stocks per game. He wins the regular season and NBA Finals MVP. Even more impressive is in the playoffs, his numbers go up to 26 and 16, which is basically the exact opposite of what Joel Embiid does every year. They go on, obviously, to win the title that year, as I said, behind Malone and Dr. J. He plays 3 more seasons for the Sixers. He's named an all-star all 4 years that he's in Philly with averages of 24 and 13. And to me, this is just, it has to be the pick because it's the one that won them the title.
And now Moses was in a league of men. So 26 and 16 in that era was a lot.
Yeah. Yep.
Especially points wise.
Right. And I think, is he the most underrated Sixer of all time? Because Dr. J gets all the shine from those early 80 teams.
Dr. Judas. You hear about his list the other day?
I'm just gonna bring up his list, dude. I don't even want to get into the friggin' list.
Bro. So did you see that?
No, what was it? I didn't see it.
Look up his NBA top 10. He does not have, now this is historically, and you could say about Embiid not being on there, whatever. He doesn't have Iverson on there, but he has Nate Archibald on it.
Yes, he doesn't have LeBron on there.
Well, I'm saying, but as far as like the guard, like the point guards or small guards, whatever, he had Nate Archibald over Iverson. We watched play his whole, well, not all of his career, but majority of his career in his own backyard.
Yeah, that's great. Not having LeBron in top 10 of all time.
Well, of course, that's the number one.
Criminal.
He's senile. Get him off here.
He's weird, dude.
I'm looking at it now. Yeah, he's real weird.
So I want to say this.
Hater.
Moses never led the Sixers back to an NBA title, along with injury, and I think that's probably what led to the Sixers trading him to the Washington Bullets, which I have as one of the worst trades that the Sixers made in the history of the franchise.
So
that would be my number one too, by the way, the Moses one.
Yeah, the Moses one is number one. But you had an opportunity to parlay one of the greatest Sixers trades of all time into one of the worst Sixers trades of all time.
Which
So
one?
the Sam Hinkie traded Michael Carter Williams for a top 5 protected first round pick. Could you imagine getting a first round pick top 5 protected for Michael Carter Williams at the moment? And then they have that pick on the platter and they take Mikal Bridges.
Yeah.
And then they trade Mikal Bridges for Zaire Smith.
Yeah, that's on my list.
Yeah, that's one of the greatest trades in Sixers history that ended up being one of the worst trades in Sixers history.
Maybe we bookmark that segment for next week. The worst.
But that's playing the same game though that you said you disagree with my number 2, right?
Right, because you're
no, I'm not, because I think your asset is a top 5. You're getting a top 5 first round pick. You don't know who it is at the time, but you're assuming that's going to be a top pick in that draft, given where the Lakers were at that point in time.
Yeah, but the difference is Michael Carter Williams was still at the time had potential, right? People thought he had some potential. He wasn't just a total log. He wasn't sitting there not playing.
I mean, he wasn't rookie of the
knew.
year.
Hinkie knew.
Yeah, Hinkie knew, but the world didn't know. The world knew Mark Fultz wasn't playing basketball.
Right. The world. I mean, the Sixers got ripped when they traded Michael Carter Williams.
Yeah, I liked Michael, and then they end up drafting him anyway when they drafted Ben Simmons. Same freaking player.
That place went nuts when they played the Heat the first game, and he went and Carter Williams went off.
Double.
The best game of his career.
We thought we had a star.
He had 9 steals.
We thought we had a star.
And
that was the LeBron Heat team.
Yeah. And they jumped out like 27-6 or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah. So they
started 3-0, those guys.
Yeah.
Before we move on to Chris with the Eagles, I will say I didn't mention Wilt because, again, I didn't want to go back into the annals of history. So if there's any history buffs out there, that's why I didn't mention bringing Wilt in.
Yeah, and same for me with the Eagles. Like, there's like Norm Van Brocklin was out there for a trade. Even Jaws was acquired from the Rams for a tight end that, just a straight up 1-for-1 trade for a tight end with the Rams. But I was trying to keep it relatively recent with the Eagles as well. I'll go with my number 3 and I'll go up to number 1. So for number 3, I have when in 2009, we traded for Jason Peters. Jason Peters came from the Bills. He was undrafted with Buffalo, ended up being a superstar stud left tackle. And we acquired him in 2009 for a 1st, 4th, and 6th. Peters went on to definitely back up the worth in that trade. He played for the Eagles, I believe it was 11 seasons or 12 seasons, 7-time Pro Bowler, 2-time first-team All-Pro with the Eagles. That was one of the best trades in the last 20 years, at least, if not all time, for the franchise. I mean, Peters was a cornerstone of that team and was the body snatcher, the bodyguard, all kind of dope nicknames he had. One was oh man, I got to pull it up. I was looking on our favorite site, Football Reference, Al, and they had the mythical creature as one of his
They love just making shit up. I've never heard
A
that.
mythical creature. The bodyguard, Godfather, or mythical creature were his three nicknames they had on Pro Football Reference. So I don't know who called him that. Maybe his mama called him that. I don't know, but somebody called him that. They put it on there. But I mean, he was great for the team.
Great player. Has there ever been an Eagle that was on the field on his back getting trainers out on him more than Jason Peters at any point in his career?
No, but he kept getting up and ticking and dominating again, though.
100%. But that guy went down every game.
There was a guy. So if you remember, and Peters, especially at the end, he went down a lot. You remember how many times Corey Simon was getting hurt?
Yeah,
Corey Simon was always on the turf.
He was massive, dude. He was.
He was big, dude. I saw him when I went to training camp one year, and his ankles were literally like they had to have been. I don't even know, man. Like it was like somebody's like waist. It was ridiculous. He was a thick dude. Anyway, so that was my number 3. Number 2 is just because I love drama and pettiness. I'm here for all that. The Eagles in 21 with the 12th pick, trading up to 10 with Dallas to get in front of the Giants, who had targeted Devontae Smith. They moved up 2 spots to draft Devontae Smith, who was going to go down in history as probably, and I don't want to jinx it, but he's on pace to be one of the best receivers in Eagles history already. Not that that's a big span of dudes. The Eagles aren't known necessarily to be, a wide receiver powerhouse organization, but he's definitely right there on trajectory to be one of the all-time greats. How he went up to get his guy, got in front of a rival. Could you imagine going up against Devontae?
Yeah.
2 times a year for the next decade plus. I mean, he'd be a handful. So I thought that was an awesome trade. Also, there was a pick in there in that situation that ended up netting, I believe, Jordan Davis too the next year, because Howie made a couple moves in 21. I think there was a future first in there that ended up netting Jordan Davis. But anyway, and then my number 1 is trading.
Chris, and you said it too, is that it's important that they were able to keep Devontae out of Giants blue, because now not only do they have to face him twice a year, we don't have to face him twice a year. So it's almost like a net 4-game win.
Correct.
Just by trading up to get him away from the Giants.
100%. And they're still looking for number 1. That's the funny thing about it. They're still looking for Devontae Smith, and they can't get him. Yeah. And then number 1 was Seltzer. If you remember, we were playing War at the Shore, Labor Day weekend, 2007. Was it 17? I think it was 17 or 16. And we traded Sam Bradford to Minnesota for the first and the 2018 4th. That ended up netting the ability to get Carson Wentz into the driver's seat for the organization going forward. And then they also used that pick that they got from Minnesota, that first round pick, on Derek Barnett, which ended up being, you could say what you want about Derek Barnett, but Derek Barnett was what is this now? His 6th year. He's still on the team. He's been productive at times for the team. So it's not like he's a total bust. Would we have liked him to have been better than he has been? Sure. But he's not been someone that like we can't get on the field. So he's been a guy that has had its moments. Unfortunately, we don't get points for 15-yard penalties that he accrues, but he's still been productive a good amount of times for the Eagles when he's in that rotation of defensive linemen that we have. So for me, that's the top trade. I mean, Bradford had a very pedestrian season that year before, and to turn him into a first-round pick, if I remember it correctly, that was the year Bridgewater got hurt for Minnesota, and they were desperate, and they coughed up that first for Sam, and the rest was history.
I really thought Bradford was going to be a good quarterback in the NFL, and he just did not turn into one.
I don't think he wanted to play football as much as we all thought he would have wanted to play. I think he was all about getting the check. I think he was all about, that guy was a blue chip dude from the time he was in high school. And I think he might have had some mental burnout, honestly. I think he was just like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Al, you want to ask Chris the obvious question, or do you want me to?
The TL was not on there because of the same.
No.
That's what I was going to ask.
I was going to say the Carson Wentz trade.
Well, you know how I feel about Wentz.
Yeah, that's why I thought it would be higher.
Had it on there then.
Oh, you mean trading Wentz? You're saying?
Yeah, when they
Oh,
traded.
yeah, okay. I can't. I thought about that, but like, you can't. I can't put him over. I can't put him over getting Jason Peters, who's a cornerstone guy, Devontae. Like, I can't do that.
Yeah, they ended up. I mean, it's
Trading
like
Bradford at the time, trading Bradford to let Wentz get the chance to be the franchise guy was more impactful and important than. I don't know. That's a tough one.
you guys had a harder job than me again because you have to look at what the Eagles ended up moving. Like, yeah, they got these draft picks and they trade the draft picks to New Orleans that end up turning into AJ Brown, and down the road those things turn into different things. So it's a lot harder for you guys than it is for me when I'm just trading players for prospects. So it really depends on how you want to look at it as far as long term.
But the Eagles had a lot of moves to choose. I mean, you could think about like Darren Sproles they got for a 5th round pick. At the time, getting guys like Maxwell, CJ Gardner Johnson. There's been a good amount of guys. Again, the T.O. situation I didn't put on there only because of the fact that he only played a year and a half for the Eagles.
That's crazy to me that you put him on there because he's arguably what got us to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I thought about that a lot for at least that 3rd spot, but because of the Peters being a cornerstone for a decade here, to me, trumped the T.O. situation.
When you were saying you love drama, I thought that's where you were going with number 2.
Me too.
Yeah.
You wouldn't T.O. over Devontae, maybe?
I just thought it was great that the Eagles and Cowboys found a way to, like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend type deal where they teamed up to go against the Giants in that trade. Because Dallas didn't have any need for Devontae at the time. So they were like, you're going to take Devontae. That's fine. Take the pick. We'll take 12. We know that they're not going to take our guy. So you can have it. And at that point, you're both getting a chance to screw the Giants over.
That's fair. And Devontae, who knows? Devontae can end up being, he's up there. He's putting T.O. numbers up.
Yeah,
I think Devontae's a star.
The T.O. era was just so fun, though.
Last year.
As far as impactful, the T.O. era was just, that year was amazing.
I was with some people Saturday night. We were just talking about when he opened up Monday Night Football with the Desperate Housewives woman.
Oh yeah.
Remember
Nicolette Sheridan? Was it Nicolette Sheridan?
Can you imagine that coming on these days?
The first game against the Giants, he's 3 touchdowns.
Right before the game.
Yeah, dude, that was awesome. What a time to be alive.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, hopefully the Phillies will make a move tomorrow that we can add to the list, although I don't know what's really out there at this point in time as they continue to kind of just bore us and drag us along this monotonous road of Kyle Schwarber striking out and Trey Turner grounding out the shortstop.
Well, they got it done. They got the job done tonight, but yeah, it's been rough.
They were third highest odds to get Goldschmidt from St. Louis today.
I don't understand, and I know we're gonna wrap this up, but I don't understand people that wanted Cody Bellinger when we already have lefties who can't hit the ball. And then we're gonna add another lefty to a situation when we already have that as, like, we clearly need a right-handed power bat. We don't need another left-handed bat in that lineup. You put a left-handed pitcher against this team, we've seen what happens. Yeah. I can't stomach watching another lefty in this lineup.
Yeah, it's such a tough spot because I want to sit here and say, like, what you guys kind of said last week, which was that this team just doesn't have it this year, and so it's kind of a waste to be a buyer at this point. But you would have said this about this team last year, and then you know how it is in baseball. You catch fire at the right time, you go on a run because it can happen again. Like, who's to say it can't happen? You never would have bet on the Phillies to make the World Series last year.
No, you're right.
Yeah, but it's different in that last year the goal was just to get to the dance. They hadn't been there in God knows how long, and the expectations are different now.
No, I disagree though. I think that the expectations change based on where you're at in the season. I think right now the expectations are just get back to the dance. It can't be any higher than that right now.
Yeah, especially because we know the Braves are out there.
Right.
You can't expect to be in the World Series at this point right now. You got to still get a lot of work done.
And that's fine. That's fine. But from the fan base perspective, the fan base just wanted to see a playoff game. Now the fan base wants to see more than that.
Absolutely, the fans do, but that doesn't have anything to do with what happens on the field.
I hear you.
I will say this: Real Muto is my Castellanos this year. That dude, literally, I can't take him. Like he did before we got on air. I watched him hurt his thumb sliding in the second with the wrong hand from the hand protector.
That's a gnarly blister.
That's such a stupid ass that like they just do stupid things. He literally slid with the opposite hand of the pad, and then he gets hurt. Then he throws to second base on a steal attempt the next inning and almost hits Taiwan Walker.
Does anyone on the base paths? Does anyone go double oven mitts? I would go double.
I would go.
I don't know why people don't slide feet first more.
I'd
Well,
go triple oven mitts, dude. I'd have a
yeah,
Scully
dude.
cap on. I'd put the oven mitts.
Those
for
oven mitts
boots.
they got to be adding at least an inch to the end of your fingertip too.
Yeah, I'd do all that. Put boots on. The chef hat, the Muppet chef hat. Put that on there.
What's Jazz
Look,
wear? I'd wear whatever he's wearing.
I want to run through this one more time before you see a trade tomorrow with prospects. Here are the guys the Phillies gave up to get Roy Halladay and to get Brad Lidge. Kyle Drabeck, Travis d'Arnaud, Michael Taylor, Michael Bourne, Jeff Geary, Mike Costanza. They're all unknowns at the time. They're all highly thought of. None of them really had any great careers besides, I would say, Michael Bourne had a decent little career. All worth it at the end.
Yeah,
Oh,
I say it all the time. Clean house. These young kids, it's such a crapshoot.
Yep, absolutely.
Still not trading Painter, but I get what you're saying.
Trade them all. They can all go.
Depends on who we're getting. If we're getting Ohtani, I'll
Right.
trade you. I don't care.
Now there's talks of
Some-
Trout. There's talks of Trout that because the Angels are trying to free up money to keep Ohtani, they might move.
I
Trout.
take Trout.
Yeah, screw it.
Everybody knows that he's going to end up on the Phillies at some point.
At some
in time
point.
for-
Hopefully, it's just not too late.
Yeah.
But that'll wrap it up for segment one. We're going to get into segment two. We've been previewing these NFL divisions, and we're going to jump into the NFC West. And I think I have some different opinions on some of these teams and some of these other guys are going to be. So stay tuned. See what happens next. Welcome back to segment two. As I mentioned, we're going to dive into the NFC West, which is, I guess, an interesting division this year. There are some teams out there that are in different stages, I would say, in regards to where they are as an organization. But as always, we'll start at the bottom based on the Vegas prediction lines, and we're going to start with the Arizona Cardinals. 4.5 is the over/under for wins. They finished 4-13 last year. They've had one winning record in the last 7 seasons. Cliff Kingsbury's out. Our boy Jonathan Gannon is in as head coach. Also out for the Cardinals, DeAndre Hopkins, J.J. Watt, Zach Allen, Byron Murphy. Kyler Murray coming off the ACL injury. Probably will not start the season. We're not sure as far as a time frame for when he will return. Let's start with Chris. Chris, give us your thoughts on the Cardinals.
Trash.
Trash.
That's it. Wrap it up.
So last year, I will say this. Take what I say with a grain of salt because projections and predictions, you never know. Last year, I said the Jets were going to win 2 games. They fought for a playoff spot. So you never know. But this Arizona team, led by that dope, Jonathan Gannon, I didn't like their draft. I didn't like them getting him as their head coach. I don't like the fact that their quarterback evidently is having, he's not 100%. He's not healthy. They're saying that they don't have the timetable at this point in time for his return, which tells me if they start off like 0-4, they're going to probably just scrap it and get the pick. They've got bad juju this year, this Cardinals team. I wouldn't be surprised if Gannon was one and done, honestly. I had them only winning 2 games. I had them on the under. That was a 4.5.
4.5.
I had them maybe win. I mean, obviously, in a 17-game season, I think 2 games won is you would expect, even at worst, to be like the minimum amount of wins for a team. I mean, they might be able to steal a win in Houston this year. They might be able to win a game against Seattle, the last game of the year, if Seattle's either out of it or not playing for anything at that point in time because something's wrapped up or they're out of the playoff contention themselves. But I can't see them. I don't see more than 2 wins, honestly, on this schedule for them. Maybe Atlanta at home. Other than that, I can't see them winning any games.
Al?
No, I'm totally with you, Chris. This team
It's
is
rough.
hot garbage. You mentioned that the projections and whatnot, like you don't want to get, too into it because there's always a team like the Jets last year that bucked the trend. But I disagree. I think every year there's a team that just everyone knows sucks. Last year it was the Texans. They went 3-14. This year it's the Cardinals. They're going to smash that under. There is not a chance they win 5 games this season. They're going to start the year out without Kyler Murray, probably without Zach Ertz. Why would you even want to get on the field if you're either of these two guys? It's a sin. Former Eagle Kaiser White finds himself stuck in this trek. They have Marquise Hollywood Brown as their number one wideout. They were ranked at the bottom half or near dead last in every statistical category last year, both offensively and defensively. And at the end of the day, Chris, you said it. Good for you, Jonathan Gannon, you slime ball, you weirdo with your little weird interactions with your players where you don't know what you're doing. You're doing the most weird shit with your hands and your players staring at you. You got 3 heads. I don't know what's going on there. I don't see them winning more than 3 games. And Chris, I'm matching you. I have them also at 2-15.
Nice.
And I forgot to write down a best bet, but I'll make this my best bet.
I was just thinking that I've read my best bet too. I'm thinking about it. But Al, it's about aliens this weekend. Gannon, he's a candidate.
Yeah, he could be. Dude, he clearly is not an NFL head coach. Clearly, it doesn't have the chops.
What does my boy Lee Corso say? Not so fast.
Oh, here we go.
What do you mean?
Listen,
what
we sat here last year. I ripped the Cardinals. I thought they were going to be terrible. They were. But a team that reminds me a little bit is we sat here last year and we talked about the Falcons and how bad that roster was. And that team was going to be terrible. And we thought they would win 2 or 3 games. They won 7. I'm not on Jonathan Gannon as a coach, but he ain't going to be worse than Cliff Kingsbury. I promise you that. That dude had no business.
I don't know about that.
Oh my
God. That dude had no business running an offense. I actually like the offensive coordinator from the Browns that they brought in. I think they need a more balanced attack. I still think there are some guys on this offense that can play. James Conner, I think, is a serviceable NFL running back. Hollywood Brown is okay. I like Rondell Moore. Zach Ertz is decent. The O-line got a little bit of an upgrade. Listen, I don't think this team's going to be good. I don't want that to come across. But I see them getting to 6 wins on this schedule. So I'm going with the over. I see a season similar to what the Atlanta Falcons did last year. I'm taking the over 6-11 for the Arizona Cardinals this year.
All right, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
This team last year was 31st in the league in defense. Who did they add this year to their defensive side of the ball that would make them any better?
Jonathan Gannon, baby.
I knew you were going to say that.
But on the as far as on the field, like what players?
There's a difference. This team was dead 5, 6, 7 weeks into the season. So they had a bunch of veterans last year that basically packed it in. They've gone to the point now where some of these guys are going and they have younger guys who are going to be competing. Again, I'm not saying they're going to be a good football team, but there's another team in this division I think they're going to be better than that they could steal a game from. I'm not looking for them to win 8 games. I'm looking for them to get over that 4.5 number.
They're going to be dead again after 5, 6, 7. Their first games of the season, they're at Washington, New York at home, the Giants at home, Cowboys at home. Then you got at San Fran, loss, home Cincy, loss, at LA, which I know that's who you're alluding to. So we'll leave it as a toss-up. At Seattle, loss, Baltimore at home, loss, at Cleveland, loss.
But Al, you know that when you have younger guys competing for jobs, it's different than when you have veterans who are just going to pack it in. Completely different attitude on that side of the ball.
I can't.
I'm so happy you brought
that. I really can't. I mean, this isn't saying hack it.
I'm happy you brought the schedule up because you could say all you want and rah-rah about like them having guys that are serviceable and young guys that are going to be hungry, but they got to still beat the teams in front of them. And the teams in front of them are no joke this year. Like they have, I would argue they don't have a winnable game until you could say the Giants at home, maybe week 2. Other than that, they don't have a winnable game until November, mid-November at home against Atlanta. And then they could go to Houston and steal a game possibly. And then they don't have another winnable game the rest of the year. I don't see where they're going to get over these teams in front of them with that roster. Those veterans, Zach Ertz will be on a different team by the end of the year.
Maybe.
He might even be back here. Wouldn't be surprised by that. Buda Baker, I know he just re-signed. I don't know what the rules are in the NFL as far as trading a guy.
Let's not sit here and say they can't go into Washington week 1 and win a football game.
That's their opener of the season. Like the place is gonna be.
They got Sam Howell.
Everybody's
but Colt McCoy revenge game.
You say the Cardinals got Colt McCoy.
Colt McCoy revenge game.
Get the hell out of here, Colt McCoy.
All right, listen.
Bro. Come on, man.
Agree to disagree. I got the over. Again, I'm not saying.
Okay, all right. You got 6 wins. Tell us the 6 teams in that schedule that are going to lose to the Cardinals.
Yes, he doesn't even have to. They are 6-point dogs at Washington week 1.
Yeah, like you tell us the teams that you tell us 6 teams they're going to beat. Because at most I see is 3.
They could beat one. They could win. I'm not saying they're going to win all 3. They could win any of the first 3 games. They probably won't beat Dallas, but you can't see Dallas dropping a game on the road at Arizona, traveling across the country, halfway across.
Because that's going to be a Dallas home game, bro.
That's not even halfway across the country.
Yeah, that's why I stopped that.
It's like a bus there.
They could beat Atlanta. They could beat Houston. They could beat.
That's why I gave you that.
They could split with the Rams.
No, I don't think that.
Well, we're going to talk about them in a minute.
Yeah,
I mean they're divisional games, so you never know. But I don't see it.
And again, week 18. Who knows what that game means for Seattle?
This is way too much time spent on Arizona. We got to move on to the Rams.
All right, let's move on.
Please.
LA Rams, 5-12 last year. Over under this year 6.5. Probably the biggest appointment in the league last year, all the Super Bowl winning season. They had won 9 or more games every year under McVay before that. Lost some veterans on the defensive side of the ball, Jalen Ramsey, Leonard Floyd, Bobby Wagner. I'll start this one. I think this reminds me, and it's a weird comparison, so much of the 2012 Phillies. A team that went all in for a small period of time, hit that window where everybody got old, started to get hurt, and there was no way out, and there was no way to improve this team. I think they're old. I think they're beat up. I think Sean McVay is not 100% in as far as coaching. We've heard the retirement talk year in, year out. Is he in? Is he out? Well, he's hanging on. Matt Stafford had a spinal injury last year. Like, I'm not sure if I want my quarterback having spinal injuries, and they were shopping him quietly this offseason. Cooper Kupp had a bad injury at the end of the year, high ankle sprain. He had surgery on it. To me, look, first 5 games of the year, you want to jump on the Cardinals? At Seattle, San Francisco, at Cincinnati, at Indianapolis, and then the Eagles. If this team is 1-4 after those 5 games, it's over. They're packing it in. Aaron Donald will be on a different team. I have them at 4-13. I think it's another bad year for the Rams, and I don't see them bouncing back for the next few years because they got to pay the piper for all the draft picks that they traded over the past handful of years in order to win that Super Bowl.
Yeah, I agree. And I thinking back to the Super Bowl victory year, everyone knew they sold their soul for that ring, and good for them because they did it. They won the ring, but now they're dealing with the after effects. You know, it's just crazy though what a difference a year makes, because this time last year we're talking about a potential Super Bowl repeat, and now we're talking about whether or not they're going to be able to win 7 games.
I had them in the Super Bowl last year before.
So they were also in the bottom half. Half of them was all stats last year as well. Just a nightmare season. Stafford's elbow injury, we were asking whether it would be a concern, and we got our answer. You mentioned Kupp's injury, Aaron Donald going out in week 12. That was the final nail in the coffin for this team. Allen Robinson absolutely sucked for them. He's gone. Bobby Wagner is gone. Sean McVay really has his work cut out for him. And I think he has one foot in the door at Fox Studios.
And yes, you're talking about Arizona's defense. Outside of Aaron Donald, the Rams have nobody on that defense.
Jalen Ramsey no more, right? I agree with you, Adam. I don't have them that bad. I have them at 6-11. So I have them slightly under the 6.5 number.
All right. So I guess it's my turn to be the lone wolf here. I think that the Rams, I think people have short-term memories, and they were in the Super Bowl a couple years ago. Last year, they had a lot of injuries. I think that played a huge part in 5-12 season that they had. From all accounts, those are a thing of the past. And I think they're not going to be a great team this year. Look, they could be. They're one of the teams that I'm really most fascinated to see how they play this year because they can go anywhere. They can be bad like you guys are saying, or they can end up being a playoff team. I have them. What's the total? 8.5,
6.5.
6.5.
6.5. I have them at. Let me double check. I believe it's 9 wins.
Wow.
I have them at 9 and 8. I just feel like this team has too many. Like they still have weapons. Like Stafford still can play. Cooper Kupp is still a stud. I love Cam Akers. They got Higbee. They got different guys on offensively. I think that they're still going to be. I mean, McVay is a really good offensive coach as well. I think they're still going to be right there offensively. Defensively, we'll see how they develop some of the guys they have that are left over. They still have Aaron Donald, who's at worst a top 3 defensive player in the league. In that D line, I still have them winning 9 games. I don't think that I think they're going to be a mediocre team this year. I don't think they're going to be a bad team.
Can I run through, Chris? You're more familiar with the defensive side of the ball. Can I run through their starters on defense and tell me how many of these guys you actually know? Kobe Turner. Yes or no?
Oh, you're asking about it?
I'm asking
No.
if you know Bobby Brown the third,
No.
Byron Young,
No.
Ernest Jones.
Dude, I get it.
I'm just asking.
I get it. They're not there's not any household names on that defense
Let
besides
him-
Aaron Donald.
Yes, let him keep going because there's some pretty funny names coming up.
Christian Roseboom.
Boom, boom, rose boom. You don't know about Christian?
I'm just going through the list. Michael Hoke, Robert Rochelle, Jordan Fuller,
Jordan Fuller, I know.
Russ Yeast, and Kobe Durant. That's Kevin Durant and Kobe Bryant's kid.
Now, guess which one of those was a WWE jobber, and which one of them was the free safety for the Los Angeles.
We're gonna play jobber or NFL.
Who he played for? Akello Witherspoon.
Achilleo. Well, I know him. He's a known guy. I don't know why he's so deep on their depth chart though.
So Al's the under, I have the under, Chris has the over. Let's jump to the last 2 teams in this division because they're the more interesting ones.
Yeah.
The Seattle Seahawks, 9 and 8 last year. Over under this year is 8.5. They've finished first or second in the division in 10 of the last 11 years and 11 out of 13 under Pete Carroll. If you look at the schedule last year, they didn't really beat anybody great, but they took care of the bad teams in front of them. Added, especially in the draft this year with 2 first-round picks. Chris, I know you really like Devin Witherspoon and JSN out of Ohio State on the offensive side of the ball. The key for them, honestly, last year, their 2022 draft class was really, really good. They drafted 2 stud tackles, Kenneth Walker and Tariq Woolen. Defensively, they'll have to be better. But let's go to Al first on the Seahawks.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I was the most bullish on this team last year. I think I was the only one with them with the over. I had them the over again this year, but just slightly. Because, or wait a minute, what was their over under?
8.5.
Yeah, so I have them at 9 and 8.
Wait, before you start, do you see a big year for Drew Lock?
Come on, man. I'm so mad about that. I had notes upon notes about Geno Smith, and I just deleted all of them when you guys started talking about Drew Lock. But I will say this. Obviously, Seattle trusts him because with their first pick, taking Jackson Smith-Jigba with their first pick, that shows that they trust him because they're putting another weapon around him. You're talking about a receiving core now that includes JSN, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Kenny Walker III. I think he's a stud in the making at running back. You bring in Zach Charbonnet, who averaged almost 7 yards per carry, had 14 touchdowns in 2022. Under our old friend Chip Kelly at UCLA. He could be a very good complement to Kenneth Walker III. Bobby Wagner is back, which should help with a less than great run defense last season. Devin Witherspoon out of Illinois, 5th overall pick. He could be a potential lockdown corner, shut down one entire side of the field. I think that this is a very good team. I said it last year too. Pete Carroll wins games. He just knows how to win football games at the end of the day. So I have Seattle at 9 and 8, and I could see that being more of their floor than their ceiling. So give me the over with the Seahawks.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I have them at 10 wins. Last year's draft class was awesome for them. They all contributed to that team last year, every one of them in some capacity. And then again, this year, the top of that draft, I think is great too. The first couple round picks that they had, especially. But Gino got the bag. We'll see how he plays with the bag. You know what I mean? Heavy is the head that wears the crown sometimes. So we'll see how he plays. If he plays like he did last year, if he plays a little bit more where we can see that the wheels are turning a little bit more to try to prove to show that deal was the right move. But on paper, I think that they are a solid team. One thing I don't like about them is, and you guys have mentioned them, but their backfield right now, Kenneth Walker and Charbon are both banged up already. Which I don't know what it is about Seattle running backs. I feel like every year their backs are hurt.
Every year.
So I don't know what kind of regiment they do or whatever, but it's strange. And it's starting again this year already. But I think that they're gonna be very competitive. I believe in Gino. I don't think that he's going to shrivel up due to the fact that he got paid. I think he's going to still be himself and be a good player. He was a really good player for them last year. So I'm going to give him 10 wins, and I think they're going to be right there for a playoff spot in the NFC.
I don't need to beat a dead horse. I also have him at 10-7. Al, you mentioned it. Pete Carroll wins football games. The job he did last year was tremendous. And I just want to add that I think we've talked many times about the best receiving duos in the NFL. I think the DK and Tyler Lockett are probably tier 2, but I think at the end of this year, if we're talking trios, I think those 3 guys may be as good as anybody in the league.
They might have the best receiver room and one of the best receiver rooms in the league.
Absolutely.
They absolutely do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. One of the best.
So we're all of us are on the over in Seattle. And the other thing is, look, the NFC stinks. Somebody's got to win football games. So I am at 10-7 as well. Let's get to the San Francisco 49ers. 13-4 last year, over under 10.5. They've won double-digit games 3 of the past 4 years. Best defense in the NFL last year, both yards and points allowed. Obviously added Christian McCaffrey midway through the year last year to spark plug that offense. I know we're going to get into the debate, so I'm going to flip a coin, and let's start with Chris on the 49ers.
Oh, everybody wants to know how I feel about the 49ers this year. Listen, I still don't know what I've heard reports that Trey Lance has been awful. I don't know if you guys have read that or not.
Yep, he's third string.
Apparently he's been not good. Obviously Purdy is banged up. They've got Sam Darnold. I still don't know who the quarterback is, what the plan is.
Purdy got cleared, I thought. No?
Who?
Purdy.
I thought so too.
Yeah, he's cleared.
But I'm saying though, like you said,
I mean, my Purdy notes. Come on, dude.
Is he 100%? Yeah, but he's not 100%. Is what I'm saying.
I think
there's no way he's 100%. There's no. It's only July. He was supposed to be out till at least through September. So like I can't imagine it being 100%. And even if he is, I'm still not confident in him to be the tape is out on him around the league. We'll see how he does with that on his, on with teams having him on their radar now when they game plan for these games throughout the full season. I had them still winning 11 games. I think they'll win the division. But I still think what I've thought before. Nothing's changed. They are not going anywhere without a bona fide quarterback, straight up. And Brock Purdy is not a bona fide. When you talk about other guys that are out here, he's not a bona fide. He can't go like you can say what you want about Dak, and I know the 49ers beat the Cowboys last year. I'd still have Dak Prescott. Who'd rather have Dak Prescott or Brock Purdy on your team?
Prescott.
Okay, so obviously you'd rather have Jalen Hurts on your team. I can go down the list. You could ask about Jared Goff. I'd rather have Jared Goff.
Let me ask you this before we get into all this. Outside of Philadelphia, when you look at this roster, don't you think people were having the same conversation about the Philadelphia Eagles last year? Look how good the roster is, but the question is the quarterback position. What is the difference between the Eagles going into last year and San Francisco going into this year, other than the fact that you believed in Jalen Hurts?
there was enough footage and tape on Hurts going into last year to know he was going to definitely be the
All
starter.
the tape on Brock Purdy from last year is good.
Right. But I'm saying, though, like he's Hurts has way better tools than Brock Purdy has.
Okay, that's fine. But Brock Purdy has, for all the tape he's put out there, has shown to be a capable NFL quarterback, other than the fact that he doesn't have the pedigree that Jalen Hurts had going into last year.
Quarterbacks aside, the biggest difference is that heading into last season, there was no Philadelphia Eagles that the Eagles had to worry about. And what I mean by that is this year, there's the Philadelphia Eagles that San Fran has to look up at in their conference.
Yeah,
and last year, there wasn't in the NFC. There wasn't a clear-cut number one team.
And we already have free real estate in their head.
But I disagree. I think the Rams were the clear-cut team going into last year. The Rams were the favorites to win the NFC last year. I think we just forget how fast they fell off the cliff.
I don't think they were
Super Bowl champs.
The way people talk about the Eagles this season, maybe I'm not remembering correctly. I don't believe it to be the same. I don't believe the gap to be as wide last year as it seems to be this year heading into the season.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that teams in the NFC have made moves or not made moves to put them in worse spots as a league than it was last year when the Rams were coming off their NFC title. So I think that the league as a whole, I hate to say it, but I think the NFC as a whole is worse now to the point than it was when the Rams were at the top.
And
so the Eagles have a bigger gap, I think, than the Rams did.
Right.
To be fair, to add to that is like Rodgers and Brady leaving the conference is two teams that, again, they didn't have great years last year, but going into last year, you're penciling them in as contenders.
Right. And so those, like you said, those guys are gone. I think Hurts is a clear-cut best quarterback in the conference. And I think the Eagles, I mean, this Eagles team, I think is even better than last year. I really do. I think they're even better than they were before. The 49ers clearly still think about the Eagles every night before they lay their head on their pillow because it's in every day we see on Twitter or somewhere where Debo said this or this guy said that or Birdie said it's like they're still thinking about the Eagles. And when they have to come here to the link again at the end of the year this year, it's going to be the same result because they don't have a quarterback that we fear. They have their quarterback is not good enough to put them in a spot to win a title. They're just not. Nobody in that quarterback room scares me. Darnold doesn't scare me. Trey Lance, his legs scare me, but his arm definitely doesn't. And Purdy doesn't scare me. Purdy scares teams that are just half-ass teams. He's a decent quarterback against those guys, but you put him against an elite team. He is not beat in the NFL an elite team. You tell me an elite team that Brock Purdy's beat in the NFL. He hasn't done it.
I'll pull up the game log.
Okay.
Al, go ahead.
Yeah, Chris, I'm with you up until you start throwing around what did San Francisco do with, quote, without a franchise quarterback? Because what did they do? They got to the NFC title game with Brock Purdy. And then in that game, they lose him to an injury, which it kills their chances to win that game. I'm not saying they beat the Eagles with Brock Purdy playing 4 quarters. I'm not saying that. But you cannot argue that it becomes a much more competitive game than what we got if Brock Purdy doesn't go down with that injury. I think that you have to pull back a little bit on the disrespect towards Brock Purdy. I think a lot of it is because he was a 7th-round pick and he was Mr. Irrelevant. And it's like me sitting here or it's like a San Francisco 49er fan sitting there and saying, well, Jordan Mailata ain't shit because he was drafted in the 7th round and he's just on a hot run. And he doesn't really impress me. He's on his back a lot.
Yeah, but that's a whole different conversation with a tackle versus a quarterback. The quarterback's the most important part of the.
No, but I know that's not an apples to apples comparison, but I'm just, what I'm trying to say as far as I can't sit here and disrespect Brock Purdy after I watched him again. What was it? Throw 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, something like that, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions in the postseason last year that's a remarkable run, regardless of the name on the back of the jersey, regardless of when he was drafted. And especially for a guy who was taking 13 reps all in training camp, all through the beginning part of the season.
Listen, I know it because of the conversations that we've had. It sounds like I'm a Purdy hater. I don't think
Purdy hater.
No. What he's done has been great for him. That's great. He was not a big time NFL prospect. He came in the league, played well, team played well behind him, the whole thing. I get it. I'm happy for him. But the cream rises to the top. And when the rubber meets the road, you're not winning a title with Brock Purdy. You're not getting to the title game with a Brock Purdy in the NFL. There's a reason why the Kurt Warners and the Tom Brady's of the world are such outliers, is because if you're not a high level prospect as an NFL quarterback, 99% of the time, you are not going to be a starting NFL quarterback. And if you are, you won't be for long, and you're damn sure not a championship caliber one.
But Chris,
and Brock Purdy's done nothing to show that he is the next outlier to me. He has not shown that skill-wise on tape that he is the next outlier.
Just for the record, Brock Purdy had 8 starts last year. 5 were against playoff teams that made the playoffs last year.
Yeah, those teams sucked. The best team that he beat was the Seahawks. And they beat I think they beat Miami, if I remember correctly.
Dallas was not Dallas was Dallas. They did what they do in the playoffs. They choked in the playoffs on the road. Like that's not saying anything.
Chris, wouldn't you agree though that the team around him at the other positions are a championship caliber team? You would agree with that, right?
Say it again.
You would agree that the people around Brock Purdy on the San Francisco 49ers, the rest
they're
of
quarterback away, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, but so that in the past, right? Would you have ever said Brad Johnson was a Super Bowl quarterback? Would you have ever said Trent Dilfer was a Super Bowl quarterback?
And those were outliers, Al. Those guys that you like more often, there's been 57 Super Bowls. How many of those are won by those guys? 4, 3, 4, 5 at most?
Enough.
It doesn't happen.
Right.
Who did the Eagles beat last year?
It's not going to be the norm, but I'm sitting. What I think the biggest piece where we disagree is I think Brock Purdy can be one of those outliers based on what he showed last season. And you're saying there's no shot in hell, and I disagree with that.
I don't know if Brock Purdy can be the outlier based on being Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy can be the outlier based on how good the rest of the San Francisco 49ers roster is.
So I just
said he's going to be so he's a quarterback that's going to like. He's a game managing quarterback.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so, and how many game managers have won Super Bowls?
Right, but no, I get that. But what I'm saying is right now, as it stands on July 31st of 2023, that roster with Brock Purdy can win the Super Bowl because that roster is so good.
The number 1 defense in the league, they add Javon Hargrave. They still have McCaffrey. They have Debo. They have Kittle. They have weapons all over the field. He doesn't have to do much.
I'll tell you another thing. I'm big on intangibles. And the fact that team still talks about that game the way they do tells me in their inside, they're soft.
Well, Debo's become Dylan Brooks.
That's a soft loser mentality. And their coach is just as guilty as any of the. In fact, I would argue that they do it as a result of their coach. Their coach does that, and it goes down to their players. That team is soft. I'm not scared of the 49ers. As an Eagle fan, I'm not scared of 49. Now, if I'm Dallas, if I'm, whoever, Green Bay, New Orleans, or whoever you want to throw out there, yeah, the 49ers are a dangerous, formidable team. But as the Eagles, as a fan of the Eagles, who I think you could argue is the best team in football, if not the second best, I am not afraid of the 49ers.
And as you shouldn't be. No one's sitting here comparing them. I'm sitting here saying that Brock Purdy can win that team a Super Bowl with that roster.
Not with the Eagles.
It's not impossible.
What's your prediction?
I have the over. I have them at 11-6. I said that there are more quarterback questions than last year because of the Purdy injury, because of Trey Lance being just dog poop. Defensively and offensively, they're statistically in the top of the league in almost every category. There are some O-line questions now with Mike McGlinchey gone. But they're going to have a whole year of Christian McCaffrey. They still have Debo. They still have Ayuk. They still have Kittle, which is one of the best offenses in football. And as you just said, they add Javon Hargrave to an already stacked defense that includes the 2022 Defensive Player of the Year, Nick Bosa. So this team still has everything in every position on that field to win a title. They're still a title contender. They're not my sheep pick this year like they were last year, but they still are a title contender.
3 for 3 on the over.
I think the 49ers are, they potentially could end up being like the teams like the Knicks of the 90s who couldn't get to the finals while Jordan was in his peak. As long as Jalen Hurts and the Eagles are great like they are, the 49ers will not be able to get over the hump against them. I just don't see that happening.
And it's way easier for that to happen to a team than for a team to win a title.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, I just
don't agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I think that we have the same record, Al, the day that they're going to get 11-6. I'm right there with you. I feel like they're still a quarterback away. I don't think that any of those guys in that quarterback room are going to be able to get to a Super Bowl or win a Super Bowl. And that will be the reason when they look back in history that this 49ers team got wasted because they never could get a quarterback.
I have them at 14-3, number 1 seed in the NFC. Best bet. 49ers.
How are the 49ers all of a sudden better than the Eagles?
Just because they have a better record doesn't mean they're better than the Eagles. I didn't say I still at this point favor the Eagles to go to the Super Bowl, but I just think the 49ers may have a better regular season.
Yeah, the division sucks.
Right. There are some issues around it. I still would favor the Eagles in a game, but I think
that's what I'm
I'm taking the Niners to finish as the 1 seed in the NFC.
Dude, I can't wait till December 3rd. That's going to be fantastic.
Guess I need a best bet for you. Which one are you taking?
Oh, you know what?
Sounds like the Rams.
No, I didn't say. Give me the.
I'm just saying based off of your prediction versus the number.
I think Al and I went the same route last week too. I'll try to go away from it because I think Arizona. I don't see them winning 5 games.
No, but if your best bet's your best bet.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Arizona. I can't see Arizona winning 5 games. I'll go Arizona.
All right, so quick recap again, just so we can summarize it quickly. I have the Cardinals over 4.5 at 6-11. I have the Rams under 6.5 at 4-13. I have the Seahawks over 8.5 at 10-7, and I've got the 49ers best bet over 10.5, 14-3. Al?
I have Arizona under 4.5 at 2-15. That's my best bet. I have the Rams under 6.5, 6-11. I have the Seahawks over 8.5 at 9-8, and I have the 49ers over 10.5 at 11-6.
Yes.
Cardinals under 2-15. Rams. What was the Rams number again? I'm sorry.
6.5.
6.5. So I have them at the over with 9-8. Seattle, I have with 10-7, which I believe was just over the over.
Over, yeah, it was 8.5.
And then 49ers 11-6 with the
over. Sounds good. So we'll be back next week to do another division, which we'll figure out during the week which way we want to go. But we're going to do a draft in segment 3. It's been a while, boys, since we put one together, and we want to talk fast food. What are your favorite fast food establishments? Stay tuned. Welcome back to segment 3. It's time to talk fast food. Al, here's a question to start. With 3 kids, how often do you hit the fast food establishments?
We are not a fast food family as far as I haven't eaten McDonald's, Wendy's, or Burger King, the big 3. I haven't had either one of those 3 in about over a decade or so.
Really?
Dude, I probably haven't had McDonald's since 2002, 2003.
Okay. Yeah, not even a French fry, not even a nugget.
I don't go to at all.
Yeah, so we don't go there, but we do go once a week to maybe like a Chick-fil-A or a Popeyes or a Chipotle somewhere. So once a week about.
So I'm not, well, spoilers, I don't know if McDonald's going to get drafted now. I don't know the last time I've wanted to eat McDonald's that I have. Megan will dabble with McDonald's, although I did have McDonald's breakfast for the first time in probably 15 years this past weekend. With a pregnant wife, they get the cravings, man. The Egg McMuffin craving, and I threw on some hotcakes.
They still do the McGriddle because I remember the McGriddle was off the chain.
I didn't even look at the menu. I just got the hotcakes and called.
Dude, I'll never forget at the Andorra McDonald's when it was in high school, and I ordered a McGriddle and I got 2 pieces of bread, and the guy's like, I was like, bro, there's something in my. He's like, you didn't say sausage McGriddle or egg McGriddle, so McGriddle is just 2. I was like, what? Bro, I was like, all right, bro, like we're getting some like pancakes or something. I'm not eating. What is this?
All right, well, let's get the ball rolling. We did the draft order. It's going to be myself first. It's going to be Al second. It's going to be Chris third. I'll open it up.
Are we in agreement with what we said, with what was said in the text, that like everything is basically fast food these days, except like Starbucks is considered fast food, but it doesn't specialize in food.
That's fine.
So I
don't have you said it perfect. Like I don't have Dunkin' or Starbucks because of that. Like coffee is one thing, but like no one's like, oh, I'm craving Dunkin' to get like something to eat. Like no one's doing that.
Okay.
Dunkin' is underrated ass anyway.
Oh, it's awful.
Dunkin'
Last few times I got an egg sandwich from them, I literally it was out of my system within the hour.
It flushes the system. That's the only thing it's good for. And
The
their
donuts
coffee sucks.
donuts are like air. I could eat 12 of their donuts. You bite into it, there's just no substance at all.
They did have the minis though, the donut holes the munchkins. They had a cornbread munchkin like this past year.
Mm.
Phenomenal. It tasted like funnel cake.
I don't know the last time I've had a munchkin.
It was really good.
Munchkins are always good for like back when I was at the office, when I was working in the office, and like that'd be like a good office snack I
Absolutely.
will bring in.
Yep.
But
All right.
listen, at 1-1, I thought about this all day, what I would do if I had this pick.
This is a LeBron pick, bro.
What'd you say?
This is a LeBron pick.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
It's a pretty clear cut. And I looked at it this way. If you're driving on the highway, you're on a road trip, you're looking for a place to eat, you see the sign, you know what you're getting. Service wise, food wise, it's Chick-fil-A. It's clean. It's got quality food. The service is good. You can go offline and get some of these other fast food establishments, and you walk into a place, it's going to have a sticky floor. It's going to have terrible service. Just feel like the Chick-fil-A is the centerpiece. It's so consistent from restaurant to restaurant, and the food is good. I just can't get away from Chick-fil-A at 1-1 overall. You get a nice spicy chicken sandwich meal. You throw a little nuggets on the side, and you go with a lemonade. It's just it'll hit you hard. Kids love it. I don't know where else you would go 1-1.
You don't feel bad when you eat it.
Yeah. It's an undeniable 1-1.
One flaw. If you get a sandwich meal, you're just not quite filled up. You need a little something more.
Oh, dude, I get the nugget meal and then the sandwich also.
Right. You got to get both.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes I'll split the nugget. I'll get the 12-pack of nuggets with the sandwich and then split it with my wife. The nuggets.
Yeah.
That'll do the trick too.
So
I think no. Go
I'll
ahead.
say one other flaw. I am not a huge fan of their fries.
No,
agree.
Agree.
Their fries. No, listen, Chris. Their fries lack seasoning.
Yep.
Like I love the waffle fry, and they're always made very well, but they don't have any seasoning.
So Al, to your point, what I do is when I get the sauces, I actually use the sauce for my fries and not for my chicken.
Yeah, I use it for both. I dip the fries in the sauce.
I'm almost exclusively fries.
No, I definitely bang with the Chick-fil-A the sauce for the fries, for the waffle fries. Absolutely.
Yeah. What's your sauce? Are you a Chick-fil-A sauce guy?
Mm-hmm. Or honey mustard Chick-fil-A sauce. Yeah.
I go Polynesian.
I was on Team Polynesian forever, and then they came out with the sweet and spicy sriracha, and it is unbelievable.
Really?
Yeah, and you can buy them in the squeeze bottle.
Yeah, I do know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They also have, and listen, part of this thing, they also have a very clean app. And you can order your phone, and now that these fast food establishments have apps, it's
and we get a free sandwich every time somebody bricks 2 free throws in the second half of a Sixers game.
Yeah, bacon for chicken.
Yeah.
Well, now one last thing before we move on. I think I've complained about my local Chick-fil-A to you guys a few times on the pod before, how they've messed up my orders. They actually just closed until the rumor is.
Dude, you put him out of business.
Yeah, dude.
The rumor
you took him. You caught a body.
Yeah, people were wondering what kind of influence we had.
I was just gonna say. They're closed. The rumor is until October for renovations, and people are pissed because apparently they just did that not too long ago. My theory is that they have to be making wider and more drive-through because our drive-through here gets it's so backed up. It's not a good look. It goes into like the parking lot of like the other establishments. It's not a good drive-through.
So ours did that last summer, and they came back with the dual drive-through.
Yeah, well, so they put a dual in, but the dual forks into a single, and I think they have to find a way to not have that fork into the single. That's what
it has to. There, I don't know geographically that one lane is on the outside. It's got to pick up its food somehow.
I don't know what they got to come up with something because there's nothing wrong with the place. There's no reason to renovate, so that's the only thing wrong with it.
Yeah, I will say too, the Sunday thing. I get why they do it, whatever, if they want to have their beliefs, but dude, how many times everybody's been out there at some point on a Sunday and wanted to crave Chick-fil-A, and it's like
every Sunday. Yeah.
Al, you jotting these down?
I got them.
Okay. All right. So it's to Al for 1-2.
All right, I'm not taking any of the juggernauts here since I haven't eaten them. It's gonna be funny. I don't know what Chris is gonna take, having also being on team. No McDonald's here. I'm taking my personal favorite. I've loved it forever. And a story I have about this establishment is when the news broke, they were opening it near my old house in Overbrook. They were opening it up the hill in Overbrook, where I used to walk there when I was in like 5th and 6th grade. And I used to walk there with Frankie Ivanone. And my parents had promised me, they said, when this opens up, we'll take you and Frankie. You guys can go and we'll get dinner there. Taco Bell. When Taco Bell opened up its location, which was the first one in the area that I know of when I was 10 years old, Frankie and I went and we proceeded to eat 16 tacos each. My parents had to force us out of the establishment because there was no signs of us slowing down. 16 hard tacos each at the age of 10 and 11, I think.
Where was this at, Al? What?
It's now on City Line Avenue. It's now
right.
And it used to be a Taco Bell, and
before across from the Acme,
right down the street from where it's not an Acme anymore. That was an Acme,
like the complex where like the Olive Garden and all that stuff.
Yes. So right next to that, there was a gas station, and then it was Taco Bell, and then it was McDonald's across the street on the corner of Haverford and Lot. So there was a Taco Bell there. We used to go. I used to walk there all the time. But Taco Bell, dude, I'll dog 100 tacos. The Mexican pizza, one of my favorite items on the menu, which actually got taken off the menu for a little bit and then got put back on. The Doritos Locos Taco, I believe to this date, still the best selling like joint venture of a fast food and some other like brand. Chalupas, gorditas, you can't go wrong with that.
Well, they had the Pizza Bell Taco Bell combo, or Pizza Hut Taco Bell combo.
Yeah, the Taco Hut.
Yeah,
the Taco Bell KFC combo is unrivaled. If I could take both of those, that's it. That's the draft.
So first confession, hold on. I've never had Taco Bell.
I mean, I'm not a Taco Bell guy either myself, but I will say their commercials, they got bangers, bro. On their commercials recently, like their last 5 commercial runs, like have had bangers on them, dude.
They've always had good marketing.
Yeah, they're the songs they've been picking have been like bangers. But
yes, like from where we grew up, there was not a Taco Bell in sight.
No, the closest one for us was the same spot. It was City Avenue.
Or King. Like if you went to King of Prussia Mall, maybe they had one.
That's close. Well, City Avenue is way closer.
Yeah, no, but I know.
Yeah, but you got to still travel ways away. It wasn't a neighborhood thing. It's still not around where we grew up at. But I've never been a big taco. I've had it a couple times. I respect the game. I respect like, you know what I mean? Like real recognize real. I get it. I respect it. But I just never been one to dabble in it a lot. But
this is a niche pick. I'm well aware that this is a niche pick.
No, people live by Taco Bell.
Taco Bell's a big entity. Yeah.
I love Taco Bell, man.
Yeah, no, it's definitely out there. I didn't have it on my big board, but I also don't have McDonald's on mine. I'll just let you in right now. We're gonna probably have
get picked. McDonald's.
We're gonna probably have a whole thing without McDonald's.
Yeah, I'm not.
What it says about us or what it says about McDonald's. I don't know.
And I see it, Chris, as being one of those things. If the day ever comes where I do eat it again, I feel like it's going to be disgusting.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, body's going to reject it.
So gross.
Yeah.
There's people though that say, and I don't know how we keep talking about McDonald's, that their fountain soda is elite soda. That the Coke at McDonald's people rave about it.
There's a lot of people that like the coffee too.
Yeah.
The coffee at McDonald's.
An elite fountain soda is the bowling alley fountain soda. That is an elite fountain soda. That is a little known secret.
Let's go to Chris before
bowling. Setting up McDonald's.
The Wynwood Lanes bowling.
Right? Yeah, man, off the chain.
Remember when we got kicked out of Wynwood Lanes?
The tube feeding it is probably so filtly dirty. Has so many chemicals in it.
Probably like bar rescue status.
Yeah.
Remember when we got kicked out of Wynwood Lanes?
No.
Yeah.
You don't remember that, Seltzer?
No.
When Al rolled the young ball.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
And the dude was not having it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't remember that?
I don't remember that.
You had a 6-pound ball. You wouldn't stop throwing it. He was like, "Bro, you're too old for this ball."
Well, it's a lot. Well, what? Maybe I was injured. Maybe I was hurt. There's some tennis elbow or something.
Let's move it along. 1-3, Chris.
All right, so I'm obligated as a black man in America. I had to take Popeyes, and I would gladly take Popeyes.
Good pick.
I've been a Popeyes fan literally since I was out the womb. I've had times in my life where I've just went up there for the biscuits, and without protein, just eat the biscuits up, and just blow up in front of folks because all that bread. Their nuggets that they have now. Talk about elite. Those Popeyes nuggets are the only nuggets on earth I've ever had where I did not even want to have a dip with it. I just take that straight to the head. I don't even want to dip it. It's so good. Elite nuggets. So yeah, Popeyes is definitely, I mean, Chick-fil-A is a clear LeBron #1, but Popeyes for me personally, it's always been one of my favorites.
Love Popeyes. The difference to me, I was actually having this conversation the other day. It's closer than you think. It's how I feel after the meal. And I think we talked about this. Like when I eat Chick-fil-A, I still feel kind of fresh. Sometimes when I eat Popeyes, I feel like I need to go lay on the couch for an hour or two.
I just had that last week. Or 2 weeks ago, I went to the one that was across by you, Seltzer.
Yeah.
And first time I did their drive-through, and it was smooth, it was easy, it was good. But after about 2 hours later, I was like, I'm just kind of like, I don't know.
Popeyes is a guaranteed post-Thanksgiving feeling.
That's exactly what it was.
Super sluggish. You're like, man, I don't want Popeyes again for a while. Like,
yep.
It's
You get your fix, and then you're done. Yeah, 100%.
Which is
you do
good.
it every day.
It's good that happens.
Yeah.
You got to be ready for it. And here's the difference between the two. And we talked about this. You mentioned the drive-through went pretty smooth. 90% of Popeyes, the service is terrible.
I was just about to say that's the one. It's the opposite of Chick-fil-A in the sense that you dread going in.
Yeah.
You want the food, but you dread going in. Now, speaking of elite fountains, Popeyes with the sweet tea. Now, that Southern sweet tea that they have, dude.
I'm not a huge fan of it.
Not a sweet tea guy either.
Oh my God, I love the sweet tea. Anytime, especially whenever I go down south or something like that, like I always like the sweet tea for me is like the cheesesteak in Philly for the visitors. Like I always, when I go down there, I love to get sweet tea.
Well,
so
that's sweet. Authentic. That's an authentic sweet tea.
Yeah, because it's from New Orleans, wherever. Yeah. So like, it's the closest that I've ever had to being authentic.
I don't think Popeyes knows, like the people that run Popeyes knows how close they are to Chick-fil-A. If they could just up their game in cleanliness, quality, and service, if they just up their game in those areas,
I don't even think cleanliness needs to, because like I think part of the charm is the dinginess of Popeyes. Like you walk in,
like you get street cred walking into the Popeyes.
I think that's part of it, but like service for sure.
Their chicken sandwich is better than Popeye or than Chick-fil-A's chicken sandwich. It's better. It's bigger, meatier. The sauce is better. It's better. Chick-fil-A's chicken sandwich tastes good. It's not crispy. It's not juicy.
You would imagine. I would imagine that their ultimate rival is KFC, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that there's a comparison.
No, me neither.
I'll take Popeyes over KFC every day of the week.
One question: have either of you had the guts to try shrimp at Popeyes?
Well, I don't like shrimp anyway.
Yes.
Really? How is it?
Fantastic. It's all breaded. I dipped it right in that sweet heat.
Sweet is so good.
So good.
I'm not a big shrimp guy, so I don't
now, before we wrap up, do you guys know the cheat code with Popeyes?
No.
The next time you get Popeyes, look on the back of your receipt. If you fill out the survey and then write the code on the back of the receipt, it actually says it entitles you to a free 2-piece chicken meal and a biscuit with the purchase of just a drink.
What the hell's a 2-piece chicken?
Like you just get 2 pieces of chicken and a biscuit for free.
So I thought you meant like a nugget. Never mind.
No, you get 2 pieces of chicken and a biscuit for free with the purchase of just a drink. And so what happens is you go in with that receipt, you buy your drink. Guess what they give you? Another receipt. So then you just
I never really. I never knew that.
Another soda.
I'll give you another cheat. At Popeyes.
I have to go
We're getting off the rails here. If you get the chicken tenders, you get asked for a 3-piece tender, they throw 5 or 6 in there. Every time.
Dude, I got the 8-piece nugget. I had 11 nuggets.
Yeah. They fire them in there, dude.
Yeah.
This is the steal of the draft. I'm so pissed. I was hoping to get it in the second round.
All right, Chris, you got another one.
All right, so circling back. So this one my wife and I go to quite frequently. And it is hit or miss with service. I went to the one in Ardmore. It was actually, no, it was the worst service I ever had at a fast food restaurant. The girl literally, when I walked up, said, "What do you want?" I was like, "Excuse me?" She's like, "What do you want?" And I was like, "You mean like what? Like what I want to eat?" She's like, "Yeah." And I said, "No, I'm good. Nothing." I walked out. But every other place I've gone to, for the most part, it's been good. But Chipotle, big Chipotle fan. The older I've gotten more into the Mexican cuisine. So the avocado, guacamole, the burritos and the bowl, like all that kind of stuff. I've gotten a lot more into. And Chipotle is very, like, their commercial is very accurate in that their food to me tastes very fresh. Like, it doesn't taste like it's been sitting around forever. If you ever are in there and you're in a line, you could oftentimes like watch them prep everything and stuff like that, and you know that it's legit on the up and up as far as freshness is concerned. So that's never a question or a doubt. The one main issue I have with Chipotle is sometimes the lines are too long, and it's like I can't bother. I gotta make a move because I'm starving.
That's where you got to upgrade to the online ordering, man. The online ordering system.
Oh, well, no, we yeah, but I'm saying
really
if it's like
good.
on a whim and you walk in, but yeah, normally when we go, we already have the order placed and we just go pick the bag up off the shelf.
Right.
Yeah.
Do they still do the
great
free?
place.
Do they still do the free burrito for Teachers Day? Because I remember
I
doing
don't know
that.
that, Al. I gotta find that out.
They do. I did that like 2 years ago, and the line was out the door. But I waited.
It's like first day at Rita's.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll take
Great pick. I would have taken it on the way back. I have nothing more to say. It's quality.
All their meats are good, and all their salsas are good. I'm a big bowl guy, and I get every salsa in that bowl: the corn, the fresh, the green, and the spicy. Get them all.
Yeah, sweet corn's underrated. Yeah, I agree, Al. I think that it's like, now, have you ever had, well, I don't know if I should say this because it might come up on one of your other things, but the rivalry between Chipotle
don't leave it.
Okay.
Leave it.
All right.
Get there when we get there.
All right.
All right, Al, back to you.
Both of those are my next two. Those are my first three: Taco Bell, Popeyes, and Chipotle. So you kind of screwed me here. I'm gonna still shy away from taking one of those big three, and I'm gonna take one that I actually don't get that much anymore because there's a rival fast food place that's way smaller in scale. So I'm not even gonna pick it because it's you probably, I don't even know if you guys have heard of the place. But I'm gonna take Five Guys.
Fuck.
I think that Five Guys is probably a top 2 or 3 fast food burger at this point. And the fries, the fact that when you order the fries and they just shovel them into the bag and they are flowing out of the bag, and you can get a little cup. I'm a big cup of vinegar guy. Get a cup of vinegar for those fries, dude. I think that is a fantastic meal, a great dinner. It fills you up. You can get a lot of great accoutrement on top of the burger. Get your jalapeno peppers. Big jalapeno guy, diced onions. So I got Five Guys as potentially the best of the big fast food burger joints, and I'm going to take them here at my second pick.
I've never had Taco Bell, Al, so I got to sit out that one. I had my big fours: Chick-fil-A, Popeyes, Chipotle, and Five Guys. Those were the big guns to me. So I think that would be next off the board. The burgers I think it's the best burger in the game. Again, one thing we talked about earlier was fountain sodas. They have, to me, the best fountain soda machine. That Coke one where you can pick orange Coke, cherry Coke, vanilla Coke, any kind of Coke you want. They have 75 different flavors, all really good. Service is decent, I would say. I don't think
it's good. And I think it's a nice little thing. You go in there, you eat the peanuts while you're waiting.
Yeah, 2 patties.
Now, it's funny you said that. The first time I went there, I didn't know. So I got my burger. It's a double burger. I'm like, bro, I didn't get double cheeseburger. He's like, that's our standard, dude. And I was like, oh, my fault. So that was like
you gotta get the little cheeseburger if you want.
Yeah, that's smart marketing on their part because no man wants to go in there and order a little anything.
Yeah.
So
I took the L on that.
I go regular burger and then the little fry though. I go little because they load you up.
Yeah, the little fry, you're still getting like 3,000 French fries.
Yeah, plenty of calories in there for you.
And the spicy fries are off the chain too.
The Cajun,
yeah.
that's what I go to.
Now I can't go anywhere with this like that kind of place and not get fries? With like, can you eat a sandwich and just walk away? I can't. I gotta have something else, like a side, to eat a side with the main meal. Do you guys do that, or like,
Yeah, I mean, I'd say
yeah.
95% of the time. There may
Yeah,
be
I don't think I've ever had a fast food burger without fries.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I didn't know if it was like I can't like anywhere like I can't if it's whatever the main like thing you go there for, like I still got to have like a side with it. I can't just get that by itself and then walk out.
It stands out in my mind. I have one time in my life where I've ever had a burger at a restaurant, and for the side, I got the side salad, and I was delightfully surprised. I'm not gonna lie. It was
And what, Five Guys?
no. I was at just like a restaurant, but I
Oh, I
got
was
a
gonna say.
burger, and they were like, "What's your side?" And I was like, "You know what? Let me get that salad," and it actually was pretty good.
There's been an occasion where I've done Chick-fil-A where I've just crushed 2 sandwiches and just called it a day.
That's
No
savage.
fries.
Dude, their sandwiches are so easy to eat. They're just so like they're good, and then like it's like I feel like it's like 3 or 4 bites, and you're and
But I think that goes to what Al said earlier, where like I don't love the fries, so I
Yeah.
can get away with it. But we're getting off track. So let's go back to me here at the turn. I was hoping one of those would fall to me, but I've got one more powerhouse on my board. And this is a place that's kind of developed over time. They used to specialize in one type of food, and they've bounced around into different side dishes, I would say maybe. But to me, they've made improvements over the past 10 years. And I think some people still think it's the old type of food and they give it a bad name, but they've really improved. And that's Domino's.
that's on my list.
Domino's pizza. Listen, it's not your Italian place down the street that has the great pizza. But if you need a quick pie for your kids and you're looking for some value, you have the $6.99 medium 2-topping pizza. Domino's pizza is good, and they have the cheesy breads. They've got the chicken kickers. They've got the wings. They've even gone into pasta. They've salad. Listen, we're a family here that gets Domino's more often than I'd like to admit.
I
I'm a
love
Domino's
Domino's.
guy through and through.
No, I love Domino's. And back when I was like big into stocks and stuff, and I watched CNBC a lot, and especially in the mornings, and they actually have a really good stock. And Jim Cramer used to say Domino's is a tech company that happens to sell pizza. And they are very much ahead of the curve in against their competitors when it comes to like they're already pushing like the delivery car that's like automated and all kind of stuff, the one that has like an oven in the back. Like places don't have that right now. So like a lot of places in the country are already like with Domino's locations are doing a lot of crazy stuff like that. So like they're way ahead of the curve with technology and with like their service and all that kind of stuff. So I dig it. I like their food a lot.
They've had the tracker for years where if you order your
That
food
too, yeah.
online, it'll tell you what stage it's in, so you know when to come and pick it up.
And you ever watch The Food That Built America on the History Channel?
Mm-mm.
No, I haven't.
So one of the episodes talks about like the pizza wars with like Pizza Hut and Domino's and all those kind. And when Domino in like the late 70s, they were the first that got delivery in this country started. And the whole like 30 minutes or less or your pizza's free campaign that they had, like that stuff was like a pioneering movement at the time, and it's carried even to this day. Like that's a big reason why we have delivery and DoorDash and all that kind of stuff. It's because of Domino's in like 78, 79, like that. They were one of the pioneers of that.
I do like Domino's. I always liked it. It was my favorite as a kid. We go through spurts every now and then, we'll get it. But living in Delco, you throw a rock, you hit a pizza place or a Wawa.
Oh yeah.
So to get Domino's, it's like it really doesn't pay us to get it. The one pizza place is literally 2 blocks from our house, so we always go there, and it's the same price. Like it's not like we're saving money by going to Domino's. But I like Domino's. It's a solid pizza.
Yeah.
Solid
And they have
pizza.
good food. They have good other stuff too. Like their wings are pretty decent, boneless wings they have, and like the regular wings and their cheese bread they have. Salads for you, Al, if you want a salad. You know what I'm saying?
So I'm going to need clarification on my next pick because I know we said I know we said Dunkin' and Starbucks are no good. I'm pretty sure this place is going to get disqualified as well. But Annie Ann's pretzels.
No, that's good. It's on my list.
I'm okay with it. It's food.
Okay. So I'm going to go with third round. I'm going to go Annie Ann's.
I think
Listen,
it's early, but
I'm Philly through and through. I love pretzels. And to me, when you walk by an Annie Ann's in the mall and you get that little whiff of those buttery pretzels,
It's witchcraft.
you got to stop there.
Yeah, it's
And
witchcraft.
listen, they've varied it up now. They got the pretzel dog, but I'll still go with the original. I'm good with that. And the nuggets as well are also really, really good. And their lemonade is off the chain. Their lemonade is really, really good.
Yeah, yeah.
So for me, again, I had some other options on the board that I think are going to fall back to me. But as a Philly guy who loves his pretzels, I got to go with Annie Ann's.
We
I
go
like
to
the croissant dog too that they got.
we go to the Springfield Mall a lot, which is like walking through a graveyard. But there's an Annie Ann's there, and almost every time we go, we got to stop at Annie Ann's, and I get the cup of nuggets for the kids. I get myself a nice big pretzel, and the sleeper pick at Annie Ann's is the sour cream and onion pretzel. You ever get the sour cream and onion?
Never had that.
Is that the one where they had the dip in the middle of it?
No, they just douse it in this sour cream and onion dust
Oh,
that just sticks to the buttery ass pretzel.
okay.
And then at the end, it's all at the bottom of the bag. And you could, if you want, you could just pour that dust right into your mouth, all over your mustache and your beard and whatnot, all over your clothes. But the smell, dude, because we could be on the other side of the mall and my kids start chirping.
That.
You smell that? You smell the pretzels? I'm like, yeah, we know Annie Ann's is here, guys. We know we're getting it.
Yep.
That actually, so if you're taking that, this actually just brought one in the play for me here that I'll get clarification on. But Philly Pretzel Factory.
I was going to say that's got to be a competitor for them. Yeah.
I'm going to have to take Philly Pretzel Factory then, because I mean, how can you go wrong with the rivet tray, the nugget tray with the different dips? You get the cheese dip, you can get the spicy, the super spicy mustard, you get the chocolate, the sugar chocolate.
I'll be honest now. I think you just outsmarted me in my own game.
Yeah, that's an all-timer, the Philly Pretzel.
What are you going to go back to back seltzer with the pretzel?
No, but I should have taken Philly Pretzel Factory before.
I actually agree with you. So I would have went Annie Ann's first.
But here's the big difference is that you got to be in like a mall or something to get Annie Ann's. Are there standalone Annie Ann's anywhere?
No, it's normally all in complexes and stuff.
Yeah. Philly Pretzel Factory. There's a dozen of them.
Philly Pretzel Factory is good to you as a customer. They have the trays, the catering, that kind. I don't know if Annie Ann's does all that. They may, I don't know. But Philly Pretzel.
Here's my question though, and I think I'm in the minority, so I might be wrong. I don't know if I've ever walked into a Philly Pretzel Factory and bought one pretzel. It's either you buy in a box or you're buying in bulk. I feel like.
I've never just bought one.
You never have?
That's all right.
No, I'm always buying a whole box or a whole tray. But I've gotten one, like while I'm doing that, they have the cheese.
Yeah, you always get the side pretzel. Yeah.
Have that? It's a good pretzel. Their pretzel dogs are good too.
Big pretzel dog guy.
But you're never going in there for just yourself.
No, it's always for an occasion. What I was going to say is they got that market locked down.
Right, bulk pretzels.
Yeah, they're a machine in that sense.
Although I will say, not that long ago, I went in our complex. I went to when I was at Pep Boys waiting for my car. I did go to the pretzel factory, got the hot dog pretzel, and then walked over a few spots. I got to get my little small Rita's cup with it. So I did do that, but
I might stop into a Philly Pretzel Factory and get one pretzel soon, maybe two.
Yeah, why not?
Maybe two. Good pick, Al.
All right, Chris.
So I'm keeping it gutter for my list. My list is hood. I'm going Boston Market.
I knew you were picking that. I'm fine with that.
Never liked them.
Boston Market. Look, man. You go you want to give a quick meal, but you feel like you had like a home cooked meal. That's the best place to go. You get the chicken. You get, if it's wintertime, you get the meatloaf. I'm not a big meatloaf guy in like the summer, but during the fall and the winter, big meatloaf fan. You get that. You get a nice side. You get the sweet potatoes that they got with the syrup and the crumbs on top. Mac and cheese is great. I can't eat it anymore, but I do miss that. Stuffing. I'm a big stuffing guy. Get the stuffing, veggies, whatever you need. Also good for the customer with catering options, things like that. And that's one place. So you typically, at least for me, you typically don't eat in the restaurant. You typically get it, bag it up, get it to go. But they don't really like Seltzer. I don't know. The one that's close to us, I don't know if do they have a drive-through?
Where's the one that's close to us?
There's one on Germantown Pike.
Oh, down by yeah, I don't know. Is that still open?
Yeah.
By 202?
Yeah.
I don't know if they have a drive-through.
Yeah, I don't think that. I don't know if they have. I don't think they do. But so you have to actually go in. But like I've always been a big, and even back in the Boston chicken days. And I
Yeah.
don't think a lot of. I don't tell you how much I like Boston Market. You know how much I hate Boston, but I still bang with Boston Market.
So, do you remember when they opened the one in Roxborough,
Yeah,
where
used
was
to
it
be where
was
Rogers was.
yes, and the Seltzer
Rest in peace,
family was
Ray
really
Rogers.
excited to go check out. It was Boston Chicken at the time.
Right.
Went there, never went back. We
Really?
were just like it was.
But that wasn't a good location. That wasn't a good spot though. Anyway, but
We
It
have
was
one on City Line Ave right near the Taco Bell that I talked about earlier. I hated it.
that
I
also wasn't a good location.
never liked it.
That was so that's another one with the like that one. Well, I'll tell you a story off air with that one, but yeah, that one's a funny. A lot of funny things going on in that Boston market.
What's your next one?
Next one is takes me back to my college days. Going into North Philly and going to get Checkers.
Oh man,
Checkers is hood as all hell, but it's so good.
I've never had it.
the most underrated. It's so
Dude.
good.
Yo,
Your
you like
burger?
you have a long night. You come in from whatever the bar, whatever, and you just like that Checkers burger and them fries.
Yeah,
Their fries ball. Woo!
you talk about fries with good seasoning.
Elite fries, the Checker
Yeah.
fry.
I'm with you 100%, guys.
It's like you get the curly fry to it if you want. Checkers is all, but they're not really in a lot of places outside of. I mean, outside the hood, really, it's not really any like. There's no Checkers in the suburbs.
Yeah, it's a big
Yeah.
seltzer. It's a big. I mean, I've only gotten it a handful of times because it was the same thing when I would go to LaSalle to hang out with like Scanlon or whoever. We would sometimes get Checkers after a late night, and I remember just those burgers being so big and like messy, like just like slop. But a bit, oh man, like you were.
Good slop.
Cats
Yeah.
would roll up on foot to the drive-through window.
All right, Al, what do you got?
Guys, I'm struggling here because I don't think there's any more places that I really eat at. I don't really eat at any more of these places I'm looking at. So I'm gonna take what would probably be my number one fast food pizza, but there's not one anywhere near me. And I would get it over Domino's if given the choice between the two. And I kind of hate to do it because, well, I don't know if he's the owner anymore, but if he is, when he was the owner, total scumbag.
Oh,
Papa John's.
Oh, Papa
Papa
John's is
John's.
awful.
Papa John's, dude, 2 words, garlic sauce.
the garlic sauce on the crust is awesome.
It's unbelievable, dude. You drizzle it on the pie too, and then you get the pepperoncini pepper as well. Those are just 2 small things that I always really appreciated and liked about Papa John's because it set them apart. It was different.
Yeah, I think Pizza Hut was always like the stuffed crust, and then like Papa John's was always the garlic sauce.
Yes.
At least for me, that's what I always equated those places with.
Yeah, in college we had the choice of many different pizzas, and we would often get Papa John's when we were getting delivery, and it was mostly because of the garlic sauce and the pepper.
And I was going to say, and a lot of times too, places like that, it might not even be the best bite of pizza you ever had, but it's about the experience and like the memories you have of when you go and like all that stuff. No, seriously though, like that's like you just talked about it when you were in college and you go like the Checkers thing for me. Like a lot of it is about the experience of the place too. Like that plays a big part of it.
Yeah, no, it's like a song, right? It takes you back to a certain time, takes you back to a certain memory. I hear what you're saying. I thought you were saying something different. I thought you were saying like at the time you're eating it, you're having like, this great experience.
No, just like the nostalgia of it.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, okay, I got you.
All right, so it comes to me here for my last 2. I'll go, Chris. We mentioned a rival earlier. I'll go Qdoba.
All right, that's okay.
If listen, Chipotle and Qdoba are on the table, I'm taking Chipotle, but it's not that big of a gap. I don't think we used to have a Qdoba down the street from us, and it actually turned into a Chipotle, which was a little bit of an upgrade. But listen, it's kind of the same food. You're in the same boat. It's the same genre of food. You're getting your burritos, you're getting your tacos, and it's still decent. It's service, I think, is a little bit of a step down, but I think the food is very comparable.
I don't know that I've ever had Qdoba. I don't think I have.
So
I just recently like we've got it like twice, when we were on like a pinch and it's closer to us than Chipotle is, so we grabbed it. But again, like to your point, Seltzer, if the two are on the table, I'm taking Chipotle over Qdoba, but Qdoba is still a solid second to Chipotle.
Yeah, and that's why Chipotle was a second round pick and Qdoba was a fourth round pick.
Yeah.
All right, and my last one's going to be, I don't want to say controversial, but a little bit of a niche pick, I would say. You know, Chris, you gave me a little spoiler. I said the Boston Chicken in Roxborough took over the Roy Rogers. There's only 7. I looked it up earlier. I think there's only 41 Roy Rogers locations left in the United States after they got bought out by Hardee's. But
one of them in that rest stop on the way to the shore. I think
Jersey,
yeah, and there's also a rest stop on the way to, you go up the Northeast Extension where I go for work sometimes. And I'll make a little stop in there because the roast beef sandwich at Roy Rogers and the mashed potatoes, for some reason, those mashed potatoes hit home with me, man. Every single time I got to get them in the little styrofoam cup.
I've had a Roy Rogers, but when they were by us, I always thought the Roy Rogers quarter pounder burger was better than the McDonald's one was.
Dude, Roy Rogers is good.
Yeah, I was disappointed when they left, but Boston Chicken was good too. But Roy Rogers is always, now again, talk about nostalgia. Like that takes me back to like my mom picking me up from the Y aftercare after school and going to Roy Rogers on like a Friday. That was awesome, dude.
Yeah.
I don't have very many Roy Rogers memories, but the last time I went in my 20s with some friends, we were going to Atlantic City, and we went to that one that's, you know, on the stop to the shore. And my buddy Rich got the Gold Rush chicken sandwich, which the whole ride he was just like putting this on a pedestal. Oh, it's so good, it's so good. He got it and proceeded to shit his brains out within 3 minutes. We had to wait. We had to wait for like a half an hour for it.
I mean, but that may make it a good fast food place? I mean, that's what we're going. That's what happened to you.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Now, listen, I left one of my favorite roast beef places out there on the market for you guys. I think deserves to get picked, so hopefully it does. But I got to go Roy Rogers there as my last pick in the 5th round.
All the rest of the places now are going to be like niche places. Like these are going to like, I have like 3 right now that I'm kind of sitting between, and they're all smaller establishments. Like I don't know how many of them there are. I don't even know if you guys have potentially eaten at them, if I'm being honest. So I mean, I guess I got to take one. I have a burger place. I'm going to take Mission Barbecue. You guys ever had Mission Barbecue?
Yeah. But I don't know if that's fast food.
No, it is.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mission Barbecue's good then, if we're counting.
Yeah, Mission Barbecue was extremely solid. So they opened one up in Springfield within the last few years, and I went in there, and I can't remember why they did this, but the guy that was there, the owner, he gave me like a bunch of cards for just like free sandwiches. He was like, yeah, here, come back anytime. He gave me like 5 free cards for free sandwiches or whatever. But Mission Barbecue, if you're listening and you don't know about it, it's basically like Texas meats. Like, you know what I mean? Like you get like the rib, like the boneless rib, or you get the like the brisket, that kind of stuff, the burnt ends, like that kind of. Yeah, it's really good for fast food. It's like that what do they call that? The new age fast food now. There's a name for it.
It's called casual dining.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what I've heard that before. So let's go with casual dining. It's a step above. Like it's clean in there. You can see them cooking. Right, it's all wide open. The kitchen is wide open. So I'm taking, and they got a tank out or a Jeep or some shit outside.
Yeah, the big Jeep. Or
the
tractor truck.
So I'll take Mission Barbecue with that last pick.
Hold on. My one issue with Mission Barbecue is, you know how I feel about onions.
Oh.
And I got a side dish there, and I'm trying to look up what it was. And there was onions. It was either in the potatoes or the macaroni and cheese. And that was
that's an L, bro. An onion is a good item, dude.
I love onions.
Listen, you can feel however you want about the onion, but you got to admit that the onion is a divisive food.
Not really.
A lot of people don't like onions.
No, so the onion though it's a necessity in the food world to cook with.
100%. That's what I'm saying. Like it's hard to not like an onion because it's in so many things.
Yeah,
you can make so many things better.
Yeah,
you can't be putting chunks of onion in certain stuff that you're not expecting it to be there.
Like if you think about like guacamole is good, but when you put good red onions chopped up in it, like it puts it to a whole different level.
But you're a guy who likes onions. I'm not a guy who likes onions.
No, that's what I'm saying. And you're entitled to it's your prerogative. But I mean,
I'm not
I'm saying as far as using them as aromatics, it's a must. You have to cook with onions.
It's
It's
a
like
lot of-
garlic and salt and pepper. Like you need them.
listen.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it doesn't need to be in the mashed potatoes or whatever it was
no,
in.
that.
I disagree.
But Al, Mission Barbecue is like if I want like a full platter type meal, like there in Boston Market, those two are like my go-tos for that. If it's like in a pinch, like I like Mission a lot.
Yeah, I don't go there enough, come to think of it. Like it's close enough where I should be going there way more often. I never even used all those free cards. I ended up throwing them out. I used one.
We have two,
especially in the wintertime. Especially in the winter because it's like kind of heavy, but in the wintertime, especially like it's a good stop.
There's one in the King of Prussia
Town center.
and then there's one in Plymouth Meeting.
Yep.
All right, Chris, close us out.
So speaking of niche, like compared to my other ones, it's very much against the grain, but I'm a SaladWorks fan.
No, I'm all right with SaladWorks.
I'm a big SaladWorks guy. I love like the create your own, which a lot of restaurants have now, but walking in, it's never really, unless you go if you go during lunch, it can be really crowded at times. But for the most part, you go in, it's not really too bad as far as like having to wait to make your salad and get out. I'm a big fan of it. It's healthier. It's a healthier alternative. You can sit there and eat and do your thing, like study or do some work. If you have like your laptop or your iPad, whatever, you're not going to get bothered to have a lot of noise and all that kind of crap. You can do your thing, almost like Panera. I think it's kind of dope.
Now, here's my question for you with SaladWorks. I've had it 2 or 3 times. When I used to live in Conchi, there was one not too far. I've gotten it a few times. And every time I've gotten it, I've had debilitating stomach pain followed by a trip to the bathroom afterwards. And I asked around about that. And it turns out that that's a thing.
Well, I think because of the greens. If you're getting, especially if you get like a lot of the dark leafy or the power greens and stuff, like that's going to expand your stomach.
Who greens? I was just getting the classic Caesar, the classic chicken Caesar. Nothing crazy.
So just like what the romaine?
Yeah, I guess. But then I was at a party one time, right? And there was a girl that I knew, and she had left her phone, and she was texting her friends. So I texted her friend. I said, BRB, got to take a shit. Had SaladWorks today, and the girl was like, "OMG, me too." So I think it's a thing. Like I think
that was your proof.
Yeah, that was my. I asked many people, but that was like that was when I was like, all right, this has to be something.
You gotta wonder, did the girl have to take a shit or did she just have SaladWorks that day?
No, that's what she was saying. She was like, no, me too. I shit today too from SaladWorks.
I think it's just from the greens, honestly, because that makes a lot of people go to the bathroom. But I haven't had that exact experience, at least not that sudden from it. But I'm also a big like getting the grains and the greens together. So like for SaladWorks, like getting the pasta with the salad. And then putting the proteins in there, the chicken or whatever you want to do. I'm big on that. That's a total package health meal.
Oh, it's a Lex Luger health meal.
That is a Lex Luger meal. Total package.
The Luger.
And I'm a big honey mustard dressing guy.
I'm not huge on honey mustard. I never have been.
Yeah, I love. If Sarah knows, if honey mustard was a woman, she'd have had no chance. That and mayo, but especially the honey mustard. Honey mustard is like that's my side chick.
Yeah, you've always been a big.
I'll put anything with honey mustard or anything with honey mustard.
All right, so that'll wrap up the fast food draft. Al, do you want to run through the teams real quick?
Seltzer, Adam, your team is Chick-fil-A, Domino's, Annie Ann's, Qdoba, and Roy Rogers. My 5 are Taco Bell, Five Guys, Philly Pretzel Factory, Papa John's, and Mission Barbecue. Chris, you had Popeyes, Chipotle, Boston Market, Checkers, and SaladWorks. And this is insane that McDonald's, Wendy's, and Burger King did not find themselves.
I'm not even disappointed. I'll tell you, I'm disappointed that Arby's and KFC did not get drafted.
Arby's is complete shit.
I used to jobber, dude. Yeah,
I used to have one right down the street. That quality is horrible.
I have yet to see anybody in an Arby's.
I like Arby's, man. And I'm surprised Shake Shack didn't get picked.
Okay, wait. We just got a new one, and the quality of food at that Shake Shack and the quality of service is god awful. It has totally turned me on Shake
That's
Shack.
become a hit or miss place too. Like the one in KOP is decent. But they have more options now. They got like veggie, like vegan options like that to get more people. Which is cool. But
I think Shake
the
Shack's
service is hit or
good,
miss.
but there was so much hype before I went in there for the first time, and I just thought it was kind of whatever.
Yeah,
Me, I lost a lot of points because of how much hype it got compared to what I actually.
yeah. I'm glad I never understood the hype about
The
Shake Shack.
better choice for these new boutique fast food burger joints is Smash Burger. Smash
Okay.
Burger is way better than Shake Shack. And the one that I would put on my list, but I don't think you guys have it. It's so small, it's such a small chain, is Freddy's. Have you guys ever had or heard of Freddy's?
No.
They're my number one. I don't go to Five Guys anymore because there's a Freddy's right down the block.
And it's a chain or is it like a local one?
It's a chain, but I think they're very few. The only one I know of in the area is the one near me.
I mean, I was thinking about you have Elevation Burger out there in Delco.
No, but I've had it.
Yeah, I was thinking about them. That's not far from us.
Ardmore. There's one in Ardmore.
Yeah. Yep. They're really good. I love their olive oil fries. And they got some good stuff. They're a good, nice spot. I will say though, the one kid was making my burger the one time when I got the vegan cheese, and he literally slapped the cheese onto like the platform, like the table when they make it, and he just put it like right. I was like, I can't vibe with that, dude. You got to like go from the cheese pile to the sandwich. You can't put the cheese on the table.
Yeah. There's no need for a middleman with
no. So I was like, keep that. Let me get another one. I'm not having cheese that was on your table. I know. Let me clean that table off.
Here, the only two I have left on my list: Wingstop. But you want to talk about bad service?
Awful.
There's not even a word for it.
Dude.
There's not even a word for how bad that's. It's a complete joke.
Awful. I went into two actually. Way different locations, same result. Stood in the one, I stood there literally by myself for 10 minutes. No one came out. I walked out.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
Yeah, I placed an online order before, went 30 minutes later, they hadn't even started it. They the receipt
so weird.
sitting there. And then they offer me nothing.
It's so weird. And then the other time I walked in, I didn't place an order yet. And I walked in and the guy's like, what's the name under? I said, no, I'm just gonna place it here. He's like, all right, and he showed me the board, and the board in the building, like in the spot, is so overwhelming. If you don't know like what you want yet, it's like the way it's set up. It's just like, you know what, I can't. It's too much. It's awful.
If I'm going wings, I'm going local, like a local spot that I know is solid.
Well, you're getting these for the boneless. You're not getting these for the wings.
Okay.
Wingstop.
Yeah.
Guys, the GOAT. But I think it's cheating to have picked it because it's not just one establishment, it's multiple establishments that make it, is the mall Chinese food bourbon chicken.
The teriyaki chicken.
Bourbon chicken is the
GOAT. Teriyaki way better.
I go with the orange chicken.
So there you go. The mall Chinese
it's too many establishments.
But that's the thing. There's not just one.
No, it's no good.
We do have an official. I think Panda Express is like the one that's like the known.
Yeah.
It is, but theirs is not as good.
Right.
I don't think.
You get the other ones there.
It's always like a Sakura or something along those lines.
Yeah,
golden. And they pitch it to you like it's like their life depends on.
Oh yeah.
Toothpicks.
You can do laps and get a whole meal. You just keep going around in circles.
Yeah. Remember we went to the King Prussia Mall one once, and Quiggs went up and he was like, "Yeah, let me get a big ass Sprite."
Well, that was that. I remember that. Like, I still tell that story. Yeah, that was awesome.
We'll post these on Instagram. Please give us a vote. The more interaction we get, the better for us. So we really appreciate it from all our listeners. You know, putting those votes in, it's only one click of the mouse or the phone. Again, my technology is a little dated.
What?
You type it up on the typewriter, fax it in.
I keep dating myself even further. But trade deadline tomorrow. Hopefully the Phillies make some moves, and we'll be back at it next week. Let's drop that beat.